1.6 million, and then 5,000 short of 100,000 deaths in the world now. But still looking at the numbers of recovered numbers are about 4 times that of the deaths. Okay, so that's still something to look at. And I think that's one thing that everybody's been talking about now, that even though there are so many deaths, there's so many infected, there's still quite a number of people who are recovering. All right, look at per country, we still see these high numbers coming out of the US. Yesterday we were at 445,000. Today, unfortunately, at 468,887 new cases in the U.S. So we're looking at cases of about 30,000 cases, new cases in the U.S. It's a slight drop.
30,000 new cases in what?
In the continental U.S. in the last 24 hours, yes. And
so now we're at what? 470?
In the U.S., 468,000. And total deaths in the U.S., 16,697. Hot on the heels is Spain with 153 cases, 222 with 15,000 deaths. Italy at 143,000 cases with 18,000 deaths. Germany at 118,000 with 2,000 deaths. France at 117 cases with 12,000 deaths. We saw an extra five cases in Kenya yesterday, bringing us to 184. And one death. Now it's again still peak week, and we see Japan again as a country that has talked about a surge that they're experiencing now when when cases have shot up to 4,979. They're looking at an easy 400 new cases in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
And so it's been a bit of a mess.
Africa?
Right, so countries across Africa, South Africa is now almost at the 2,000 case mark. Algeria and Egypt still in the mid 1,000s, so 1,600 and 1,600 respectively. Morocco, again, with the numbers that we've seen yesterday, 1,374. Now, if we look at Tunisia, which is in the area, still at 643. Coming down then to in sub-Saharan Africa, Ghana, with the lockdown that they had prescribed by President Nana, and he was very clear about what he wanted. Seeing cases at 378 in Ghana. Nigeria with 288 cases. That was an increase of 11 cases yesterday. Senegal, 250 cases. Kenya, 184 cases. DRC, 180 cases with 18 deaths. Djibouti, with 140 cases. And so, interestingly enough, when the first case was found in South Sudan a few days ago, they've now gone up to 10 cases, and they're doing everything that they can do to keep those numbers as low as possible. 15 cases in Sudan, and they started out with 6 just a couple of days ago, so that has doubled so far. So we're still seeing low numbers across the continent. And when we say low numbers, it's not to give anybody a chance to rest on their laurels as such, but it's low numbers in comparison to what is happening, especially in the Western world right now.
But also, this is where the Western world was at this point in time.
Yeah, by the time, because now we're looking at what's going on now in Kenya, we're at week 4, right? And this is exactly where they were at some point before things then skyrocketed, where a lot of these countries are getting to plateau, even with very, very high numbers. This is about the time where things would have surged for them, where a lot of African countries are today. So it will be interesting to see what develops over the next 1 week. However, all of this, again, can be mitigated, and it's never too soon for us to say that there's certain things that we can do to make sure these numbers remain at the levels that they are now.
We can still fight this.
Absolutely.
Or we can flatten the curve at best, right? 22 minutes after 6 o'clock, let's take a look at the weather, and then we come back and start off with today's proverb and take a look at the headlines. Good morning.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. The weather with Spice FM.
Friday morning, let's see what it looks like now in Nairobi. Mostly cloudy conditions at 17 degrees, 25 or 26 degrees the high today, and lows of 16. Nyeri at 16 degrees is going to be mostly cloudy today, highs of 24 and lows of 15. Nakuru is partly cloudy at 14 degrees, a chance of showers in the afternoon with highs of 27 and lows of 14. Eldoret at 14 degrees, will be partly cloudy for most of the day and showers expected in the afternoon, highs of 26 and lows of 13. Kisumu at 20 degrees is mostly cloudy. Thunderstorms expected in the afternoon then with highs of 29 and lows of 20. It's partly cloudy in Malindi at 27 degrees. Showers expected to make debut in the afternoon with highs of 32 and lows of 27. Mombasa is mostly cloudy at 26 degrees. It's going to be a rainy day there too in the afternoon with highs of 32 and lows of 26. Taking a peek into East Africa in Kampala, it's raining this morning at 21 degrees. Thunderstorms will follow later with highs of 27 and lows of 21. Dar es Salaam is clear this morning at 25 degrees. It'll cloud up though later into rain showers with highs of 31 and lows of 25. Johannesburg is mostly cloudy at 12 degrees. Partly cloudy conditions will follow later on with highs of 21 and lows of 12. Lagos today is clear skies at 27 degrees. Likely to cloud up as well later with highs of 34 and lows of 26. We'll take a look then into Europe, and Paris is clear skies at 14 degrees. It'll be a warm day today, highs of 26 and lows of 12. New York experiencing the first sight of spring as well at 8 degrees, clear skies, and there will be showers in the afternoon with highs of 13 and lows of 5. And finally in London at 9 degrees, it's clear skies this morning. It'll shoot up though to 23 degrees as a high and lows of 8.
Pure golden sound and good talk. 94.4 Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 27 after 6. Good morning. Good Friday.
Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Everyone at some point or the other has heard in the various forms it manifests itself or it's spoken of in the communities around the world. It takes a child to raise a village. Good, you caught it. It takes a village to raise a child.
I thought I was in a time warp. I was like, what? No.
Yeah, in various forms. You've heard it in various forms.
Yes, the form that we often hear is the Swahili one as yofunzwa. Na mama atafunzwa na ulimwengu. Now, we are in a situation where everyone is both a child and an adult. Meaning, with this COVID-19, everybody has a lesson to learn and everyone can be of assistance to anyone. You don't need to be grown up, as we say, or an adult to understand what do you need to do. And even as a child, you'll have a very clear understanding of what it is you're being told. Because from the earliest time, children are taught about staying healthy by simply maintaining good hygiene. But this one takes it a notch higher. Because we have a situation now where, given what and how a child is raised or a child is disciplined, when they grow into an adult, remember, this disciplined adult doesn't become an adult with the discipline simply because they're adults. No. It's because they were taught something somewhere along the line. The lesson we are seeing most of us have learned with the time in our adulthood is, in this country, is to defy anything and everything the government tells you to do. Now, we need to learn another lesson. And that is to sift and identify things that are useful to you, irrespective of whether you think you do not like the government. No. Please sift and take the information that you're being given because it is the lifeline you have. Yes.
Well, that's a good one. So let's get into the headlines, shall we?
Yes.
Yep.
What do you want to start with? Standard or Nation?
Well,
the Standard is what you're holding. Go.
Let's go with the Standard. Yeah. Front page there. Okay, I will start with the front center. Drug hope as Kenya braces for the worst. Kenya seeks promising Japanese drug Avigan, even as it gears up for grim days ahead by designating 460 isolation centers and acquiring body bags, anticipating a spike in infections and deaths. So, of course, there's coronavirus coverage from page 2 and taking a jump then all the way until page 22 of the Standard today. But if we look at the details of this particular drug that Kenya is hoping to then acquire, that Japan has been using, the disease, scientists can now explain what the virus does to the body or those critically ill from the virus, resulting in certain death. Before we go back to the story of the drug, it has now emerged that the disease, which has gone through the globe with such devastation, crippling the health systems of some of the most advanced nations in its wake, affects how red blood cells in the body work in carrying oxygen from the lungs to the rest of the body. It is now believed that the virus, which has killed some 89,000 people, and infected well over 1.5 million more, destroys and displaces hemoglobin from the red blood cells. This paralyzes the cell's ability to get filled with oxygen as the blood is pumped by the heart to the rest of the body. When this happens, the body goes through the same condition as when it gets carbon monoxide poisoning, explaining why patients in advanced stages of the disease still do not make it out alive. So this is clear now, because we kept asking ourselves, the ventilators, what was all of this? Why then were they quite worried about people who had pre-existing, especially respiratory conditions? So now we understand that. It's as though because you can't get oxygen into your lungs because your red blood cell has essentially collapsed, it's akin to drowning. And we heard that some of the patients who did die before they passed, unfortunately, they did say that they had that feeling of drowning. So essentially what happens is that you're not getting oxygen into your system. So you basically cannot breathe. So this is what the virus does. And it normally comes about in late stages. And so that's what they're trying to do in this case. Stem it so that you don't get there to that late stage. So it's good, I think, that this information has come out. So it would be interesting then to see what this Avigan drug is. And if I can go straight to that, Japan's flu drug. The Ministry of Health is in talks with the Japanese government to try and get an antiviral drug used against influenza in the treatment of the coronavirus, though not among the 4 drugs and drug combinations commissioned by the World Health Organization under the Solidarity Trials 1. Favipiravir is said to have shown promising results when used in patients with the coronavirus. So the drug under the trade name Avigan is said to affect an enzyme that helps the virus replicate and multiply inside the human cell. It is now seen as a potential treatment for the neglected and emerging RNA viruses like the coronavirus. So Kenya is in talks with Japan to see if they can get this, because understanding that Japan also, just on the other side of the Pacific, is the US, whereby they also suffer from huge, during the flu season, they suffer, and Japan is one of the countries that suffers from this as well. And so they have over time been able to develop this drug, which they use. And so the talks are ongoing now to see if it can be used, with fear that there will be many more cases in the coming weeks.
So Japan has used this and they've seen promising results. I'm assuming that's why we are having talks with them.
Yeah.
Okay. It registered as a flu medicine. It has to undergo several clinical trials and another approval in order to be registered as remedy for COVID-19. So we are part of the clinical trials. Okay. That's a good headline. There's hope.
There is hope, but you must temper it with reality. That clinical trials take, even if you fast track them, there are certain protocols that must be followed, and they take a certain amount of time before they can be released into the general public. It isn't as though two people will be tested and tell you, okay, this thing works. No, it goes through several phases.
True.
Yes.
When we're saying that the Ministry of Health is getting these things from Japan for use, we are basically saying that we're going to subject those who get COVID-19 as part of the clinical trial. Right?
And
not one or two patients.
They accept to be part of
Yeah, they have
the
to
trial.
accept. It's not. It has to be
It's
a voluntary
voluntary.
thing. Yeah, you
Yes.
can't force them. Yeah.
It has to be voluntary.
I don't see myself saying no to whatever trial.
It doesn't really matter. It has to be voluntary. It has to be documented that it was explained to you. You are told, you are informed about the risks. You are informed about the benefits, not necessarily to you, but to mankind and research.
Yep.
You must be given all this information, the harms that are likely to occur,
The
all
negative effects that you
All
would, because
that.
it's
All that.
you would feel their effects that you will feel on your body physiologically having gone through a trial like this, because they subject you to quite rigorous testing. You know, they're injecting all manner of things.
It's
into
a
you.
process.
It's a
procedure of things.
Absolutely.
And you'll be told all these things. And when you then accept, and remember, you must be of sound mind. Somebody who is ill and can barely breathe will not be a reliable candidate. No.
It will not be at the end stage.
No.
It will be at
Because
the initial stages.
You'll fall under
Statistically,
the category of what you call a vulnerable individual.
Statistically, how many people say no to being subjected to clinical trials?
Oh, very many.
Like on a percentage.
No.
Not ordinarily, like in a case like when they were developing the ARV drugs, right? How many were being given and they're told this could help, and they said no?
You have to be specific to a specific trial. So let me talk about when they were trying to determine whether it is the very drugs that you're using for treating antiretrovirals can actually be used for preventing. Now, the clinical trials, let me say an average of probably 10% to 20% of the people who declined for whatever reason. But the vast majority of the people will accept. Yes. They will accept.
That's a good number.
Remember, when you are testing for such a drug, let us say, you want to determine whether this particular drug can actually be used to prevent people getting HIV. You'll be testing people, you'll be working with people who are actually not HIV positive. Okay? Because if they're already positive, then they cannot really be useful for testing whether this thing prevents HIV.
Yeah.
Now, that makes it tricky. There are people who will say, no, they have no wish to be tested for whatever reason. But they form a small group. Now, the success of these things is not even just determined by the test itself, but how you communicate it. Yes.
It's how you communicate to the people.
It's how you communicate it, yes.
At 24 to 7, let's go and take a look at traffic. And then we come back and look at the other headlines in the paper. Remember, you can download the Standard e-paper app from Google Play Store and Apple App Store. Just one subscription fee. You get to access the Standard newspaper from wherever you are on its digital platform. Good morning.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
I dare say most of the country is indoors today. It being a public holiday, it's likely that we'll see quite a number of actually quite smooth everywhere that you would want to go today. So really no traffic around the city today. If you're trying to get somewhere, you'll get there really quickly. It's also interesting to note that along most highways, we see quite a number of public service vehicles parked. And nobody really seems to be going anywhere just yet. Anything opens up, we'll let you know. Spice FM KE is how you can reach us on Twitter. Let us know what the roads look like in your neck of the woods.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, everything nice. Spice FM.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
At 11,
Mornings
21.
done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Spice FM KE on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, as well as www.spicefm.co.ke. Thank you very much for joining us wherever you are listening from. You can post your comment on Facebook and tell us where you are, or also you can tag us on Twitter and tell us where you're listening in from on this Good Friday. The Standard headline was Drug Hope as Kenya braces for the worst. The Nation headline, The Change Makers. This is acknowledging a silent philanthropic spirit that is sweeping across the country as people and companies alike seek to save and touch the lives of ordinary Kenyans during these trying times. These stories on page 4 and 5. It has a picture of Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu, who was distributing face masks to vegetable vendors and border operators in Kitui town as part of efforts to curb the spread of the deadly virus. The face masks were manufactured at the Kitui County Textiles Center, a brainchild of the governor's. Very, very, very good job that she's doing. 30,000 face masks a day. And that's what they're producing. And well, the story of the philanthropic spirit of Kenyans is on page 4 and 5. Blessed is the hand that giveth. Corporates launch a Safe Hands drive. Several companies have come together to launch the Safe Hands Kenya campaign that aims to distribute free soap, sanitizers, surface disinfectants, and masks to Kenyans. A nationwide marketing campaign will be rolled out in parallel to motivate behavior change and inform people about practical and immediate measures that they can take to stay safe and slow the spread of COVID-19. The initiative is a homegrown blueprint for the particular challenges presented by the virus in Kenya. This is according to Safe Hands Kenya CEO Andrew Waitito. So taking a look at some of the companies that have gone ahead to donate. Devki Group, 20 million shillings. UBA, 15 million shillings. Accor Group of Hotels is saying it's going to pay COVID-19 related medical bills for staff, and the Accor Group of Hotels will be withdrawing its proposal for a 2019 dividend payout of 32 billion shillings so as to allocate 25% of the planned payout to the launch of the All Hurt Is Fund. The money will pay for any of 300,000 employees covered in 19 related hospital expenses. Pwani Oil, 60,000 liters of hand sanitizer. Midwest Food Bank USA, 1.7 million to children homes in SOS villages. National Business Compact Coalition, 70 million. This is, a good start. And also we know that the fund that was launched by the president, that is being led by captains of industry, bank leaders, and chaired by KBL Managing Director Jen Karuku, is also receiving some donations from corporate organizations, and they're about to launch now, go countrywide and say, this is how we want to get your help. Good thing, right?
Right. In the same heartbeat, the UN mobilizes donors to help Kenya handle the impact of the virus. So where the government and the UN yesterday launched an appeal for 27 billion shillings to assist Kenyans whose sources of income have been disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The appeal seeks to respond to the immediate needs of about 10 million Kenyans. It was launched during a meeting convened by the UN resident coordinator Siddharth Chatterjee and attended by the Treasury Secretary Ukur Yatani, Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa, and several other development partners. remotely, of course, where the COVID-19 appeal cash will go, ensuring that the delivery of basic essential services is not interrupted, protection of livelihood assets and food support to the most vulnerable communities, ensuring access to essential healthcare, education, protection services of women, children and vulnerable communities, cushioning people living with HIV, displaced populations, people in high concentration areas in urban and peri-urban areas, refugees and those who have been affected by floods and locust invasions. So this money essentially would go to buffer and support these groups of people. In terms of, it's not an if, it's a when now. Those funds will be made available for this. So let's see how that goes. 27 billion shillings is not chicken change. It'll go a long way in helping, especially with what we see.
Yeah, we'll also be talking to somebody at around 8:30 a.m. this morning, Karine Bumsma. She's is the Executive Director of Sustainable Inclusive Business in Kenya, established under KEPSA 5 years ago, actively raising awareness and business support around the concept of corporate social responsibility, business as a force for good, positive impact on people, planet and profit. This is a conversation that we'll be having. We'll also be hearing from the Governor of Laikipia, Nderitu Mureithi, today to hear what Laikipia is doing in preparation for combating COVID-19. Keep it right here. This is a situation on Kenya's biggest conversation. Before we go into the next break, Raila Odinga has also given 15 million shillings boosts to the COVID-19. This is money that's going to be directed towards assisting people in various areas, Kibra, Mathare, and other regions. The ODM leader has donated the 15 million shillings for that purpose. Well, mobilized funds and brought people together, and they were able to raise that money. Now, you see that photo on page 8 of the Standard of ODM leader Raila Odinga's Chief of Staff, Andrew Mondo, Bidco Africa Head of Communications, John Lawrence, presenting donations to help Kibra residents to the Deputy County Commissioner, Gideon Ombongi, and also the MP, the Kibra MP is there. What I have an issue here with is the concept of social distancing in this photo. I mean, we must not just go ahead and do PR and forget the basic that we ought to do. Social distancing is a must. And this is one area where these leaders get an F. Kisii Governor James Ongwae receiving foodstuff and protective gear donated by Kisii business community. So people are already coming together and saying, all right, so we need to, and see, this is what you were talking about the other day. Our Harambee spirit is alive and kicking, and it's one of the things that's going to help us during this season and this period, because it's something that we ought to do and something that we need to remember that we must follow throughout, you know. It's a big thing. We're going into a short commercial break. Remember, if you'd like the Standard newspaper delivered to your doorstep wherever you are around the country, you have the numbers to call. This is, if you're in Nairobi metropolitan region, call Anthony Mutunga on 0702 905 941. That's 0702 905 941 if you're in Nairobi metropolitan. If you're in Mount Kenya and the coast and you'd like the Standard delivered to your doorstep wherever you are, call Benson Gitau 0702 905 780. 0702 905 780. And in Rift Valley and Nyanza regions, Marco Diembo 0776 756 107. That's 0776 756 107. The Standard will be delivered to your doorstep. Terms and conditions apply. This is Kenya's bold newspaper. Good morning. It's 7:15.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM. Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk.
Headline.
Well, what I'm looking at here is Kemri assures of full ability to test for corona. Now, this is on page 4. The person in the picture is one of our deputy directors. He's called Professor Matilu Mwau. He's the director for Kenya's Center for Infectious and Parasitic Diseases Control Research at Alupe in Busia. Why to me this is important is because of one very simple reason. We haven't highlighted enough the capacities that we have as a country for dealing with not just the coronavirus, but very many other diseases that we have. If you're talking about hospitals and the capacity, just the capacity that our hospitals have within our counties, it is actually not a small capacity. Now, if these hospitals were running as well as they can, the truth of the matter is the panic that has spread so far would have been long averted, for the simple reason that you would know that falling sick is not the end of the line. You are able to get treatment, not for COVID, just for anything that you require. We train personnel here. We export that personnel. We had a surplus of personnel in this country, surplus in the sense that they were trained, they were qualified, but they were not employed. We are now trying to rectify that. If you look at even just the Harambee spirit, the manifestation of it through the things that very many people are doing, business communities in various counties, this is capacity. So pick and choose anything that we need in this country. What will surprise you is that the capacity has always been available locally. If it's a place to take people for quarantine, that has not been the problem. We've had that capacity, we have that capacity. But people don't even seem to understand what quarantine is all about. They think it's a form of prison. Those who are reporting from it are reporting, again, the communication that would enable them to understand that this is what it is, this is why it is so, it isn't a holiday camp, this is what we're supposed to do. We issue guidelines, we can't enforce them, or we don't enforce them. The capacity that this country has to be spoken of very, very loudly so the citizenry can understand that there are things we can do as a country and do them well. Much as we keep asking for assistance, we are now talking to Japan. We have several centers within Kemri that have a bilateral arrangement and agreement with many universities in Japan. The center that we have in Japan for production, the center that we have as for communication, for trainings, all these things were built by the help of the relationship we have with JICA. We have such relationships with very many institutions. Kemri in Kilifi have an association, a collaboration with Wellcome Trust. Kemri in Kisumu have a collaboration with CDC. It's Kemri CDC. They are not the only institutions in this country that have such collaborations. And these have been used in the past for the good of this country, and they can still be used.
They can still be put to use.
And these institutions also help build capacities. And those capacities exist in country, not out of the country, in country. Yes. You see, I'm saying this because this appears on page 4. This thing should have appeared on page 1 so that people understand that the capacity, this testing that you're talking about, we don't need to import the capacity to test. We have it. And explain so people know, oh, you mean we have it? And it's even regional. Now, on page 4, when it is a small place in a corner, it's very easy to miss it. Yes.
Good information.
Right.
Good information. The one of the editorials in the Standard today is talking about something that is quite bizarre. It's asking for the state to probe mysterious killings of girls in Karombo village. So Karombo village in Kisumu West is mourning the death of a 13-year-old girl. The girl went missing on April 3rd, and the following day her mutilated body was found close to her home. Incidentally, a Kenya's body was found at the same place where the body of another 14-year-old girl, Violet Atieno, was found in April last year. As well, Atieno had been murdered by unknown people who chopped off her private parts. Karombo residents claim that there have been 7 unresolved murder cases involving teenage girls since 2010. According to the villagers, the murders often take place between April and August, which has left them bewildered. The Criminal Investigations Department should pursue this matter aggressively to ensure that no other girl in the village suffers such a brutal murder. What's happening?
It was even in yesterday's paper. It's something that has been reported before. In some cases, these girls had certain vital organs missing. So it wasn't just they died.
Yep.
Parts of the body were removed.
They're mutilated.
Yes.
Well, we see that, I mean, in the
And
past.
it's happening between April and August.
Well, this is what is interesting. You already know when it's happening.
April and August, and then if you look at
Because
those
of school
specific
holidays.
times, schools are on holiday. In April, they have the 3-week holiday. In August, they have another 3-week holiday.
Yep.
And younger girls, of course, are on holiday at the same time. We know that from what we've seen previously, a mutilation like this then is linked many times to
Some
people having
rituals.
said to do some kind of rituals for whatever reason that they're pursuing relationships, wealth, etc., etc. It's unfortunate.
It's
Such things
quite
are still
bizarre.
going on. It's quite bizarre, but it's a reality for a lot of people.
Quite bizarre. Embu residents who were fleeing Mombasa were turned back. 4 buses that had been dispatched to Mombasa to evacuate residents of Embu County were intercepted by police at Masinga in Machakos County and ordered back
I don't understand.
to Mombasa.
I don't understand.
Lower Yata Police Commander Charles Chacha said the buses were intercepted at a checkpoint at the Kanyonyo Embu Road. Chacha says more than 100 passengers were being ferried from Mombasa, which has registered about 19 COVID-19 cases, to their rural homes in Embu and Meru that have so far recorded 0 cases of the disease. Movement in and out of Nairobi metropolitan area, Kilifi, Kwale and Mombasa counties has been stopped. Of course, we know that for those coastal counties, the ban came into effect on Wednesday evening. It appears that on Wednesday, Embu County Commissioner Abdullahi Galgalo said they were on high alert after being tipped off by the public that 4 buses had been dispatched to Mombasa to bring residents back home. Galgala has warned Kenyans against flouting the measures. So this was it was very well organized and coordinated. Come, send the buses, let them use the back routes, using all the way going through Mwingi to try and get into Embu, and then people can go home.
I don't understand. I really don't understand. You know, at this point, I feel for those who are trying to pass this message in terms of what they're trying to do. We've already said that, you know, we understand
And the
there's
reason
certain
is-
things that were not done well. But in this case, we are saying, like Siti said yesterday, forget about all of these other things. Right now, there's something that you can do. There's something that I can do. So then you think that you want to be smarter than the rest of the people, and then you hire 4 buses to go and remove people. What are you thinking? You are doing?
100 people being
100
ferried.
people. 100 people. We've seen the damage that one infected person would be able to cause just by traveling from point A to point B. These people are resident in Mombasa, a county that has already been called a hotspot because of what has been found. Now, you want to take
The
yourself
last
and
thing I
traverse the
think that
country.
occurred to them is that they would be importing, that they were actually increasing the chances.
Whereas it
of
should be the
importing-
first
of
thing that
importing.
would occur
Yes,
to
they're
them.
actually importing the virus
Yeah.
with the action.
But you know,
Yeah.
I think these 4 buses were just the last ones to be intercepted. I'm sure this
The
movement has been happening.
Others sifted through. for
Yesterday,
sure.
the governor of Nyeri, Mutahi Kahiga, was saying that since Monday, before the curfew went into effect, when did Nairobi's curfew go into effect?
Monday.
Was Monday. So that previous weekend, because they had set up, those
The curfew or the isolation?
the isolation
Yeah,
of Nairobi,
Monday.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
They had Nyeri County has set up those what do you call this temperature checking thingy?
Screening.
The screening. They had set up screening centers into very many entry points into
They had,
Nyeri.
it was even on TV.
Yeah. So in that period, over 36,000 people had crossed into Nyeri. Coming from various parts. Many of them, those many roads leading out of Nairobi. Nairobi through the Karatina route, Nairobi through the Murang'a route, and also getting into Nyeri from the Nyahururu route. All those, within 3 days, 36,000 people. Speaking to the governor of Laikipia, who will be speaking to this morning, he says they have also been having a screening center, but theirs has captured many more. Remember, people were going also to areas of Moyale and Marsabit, and Isiolo also use Laikipia. People going to Meru also use Laikipia. So they'd captured very, very many. Well, this is something we need to, I don't know, we just keep our fingers crossed.
You know,
It's where the government should have done something prior to this.
You know, we are heading towards a national lockdown. Huh?
Yep. And this is what is happening.
Because what's happening is county governors are taking action themselves and say, you know, within this county, you're not moving.
Don't come in, don't go out.
Don't come in, don't go out. But this is something that should actually happen.
What should happen?
Let's discuss it in detail for a bit in the next hour. CT Muga, what's today's proverb?
Today's proverb is really simple and straightforward. It takes a village to raise a child.
It takes a village to raise a child.
Yes, and we're at a moment where how that child was raised is actually beginning to show.
It's showing. The village is calling their child back home from Mombasa and saying, bring Corona.
While you're coming back.
We are sending a bus to you
So that
so that in the event you have Corona, we will deal with it here. Surely. Villages. This is a situation room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Keep it right here for more discussions in the next hour. Good morning. It's 7 o'clock.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Spice FM, Nakuru. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the
Remember the
chair,
doctor who
seasoned
spoke to
journalist,
Marcus of
newshound,
Next Radio in Kampala, Uganda, after we had a conversation with Next Radio in Kampala, and he said, look, I've just heard what you were discussing with the people in Kenya. Kenya is joking. Kenya is not taking this thing seriously.
Yesterday, we spoke to Marco in Rome. What did Marco say? I have lived in Nairobi, guys, so I can understand what is going on. Now, I am here in Rome, and I can face directly the first-hand repercussions of what I've seen. And I am begging you guys, please, don't take this thing like a joke.
Don't take it
I've lived
lightly.
here, and I'm here right now facing the reality. What I'm seeing is not child's play. Don't play around with this thing.
Don't take it lightly. This is something that, it's serious. So that continuous movement, the continued move, the attitude of leaders is telling. Like I just said, that photo there that's showing people standing next to one another, handing over foodstuff, too close.
This is why I said leaders, look, and I fully agree with Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., that leaders, because of this thing that you're talking about here, Eric, of them standing, like sausages in a pack, they need to be able to tell us what their status is concerning COVID. Because you can imagine the kinds of people, the numbers of people that they come in contact with when they're doing all of these PR stunts back and forth. For the safety and protection of other people. Yes, if you do, and I really don't see I don't think it goes against any kind of private or personal ethics. I don't think it goes against anything like that, because what we're trying to do is protect people at the end of the day. So I think they should declare their status. If they've
Even
been tested and
even though she was
doing
this was a very good gesture of giving out the face masks to the people.
Way too close.
She should have said, look, guys, 1 meter apart, and then let's have them distributed. Look at that photo.
Yeah.
They're so close to one another. This is social distancing, nothing. And the governor who's giving out stuff to fight COVID-19.
This message hasn't
very
sunk.
close.
Huh?
No, it hasn't, CT. It really hasn't sunk. It has not.
That the one simple thing that every Kenyan can do is to maintain social distance.
Yeah.
This one everybody can do.
You don't need government support. You don't
You don't. You don't need money.
Parliament does not have to go and legislate.
No. An act of parliament does not need to be enacted. The police don't need to come and tell you. You don't need to go to hospital.
Yeah.
It's something you can do. Social distancing is the key to ensuring you stay well. Basic. It's not complicated.
It's nothing beyond what you are able to do.
Remember before the advent of face masks and the proliferation of it,
Yes.
why social distancing was being advocated for is so that the very possibility of infection that arises from the spraying of droplets from our mouths as we speak
Yep.
is actually maintained. So if you have that distance, believe me, you do not need to worry if the distance is maintained. Now there are those, remember then the discussion of is it airborne came into being. Somehow that went back and forth and then it sort of like went round in circles, then
threw out
face
the window,
masks.
yeah.
Yeah.
The face mask is useful, but if you maintain social distance, the face mask is not an excuse for not maintaining social distance. No. Maintaining social distance is the key to ensuring that you are safe.
It's going to be a tough one because then yesterday also we saw Mutahi Kagwe, quite an annoyed man as well when it came to... I actually thought it was a joke. I thought it was a joke.
Right?
Yes, I
John, did
thought
you
it
get
was a
that clip?
joke. I wanted to believe. I wanted to give Kenyans the benefit of doubt. I really...
For what purpose?
Because
Wait
CT...
for this.
Wait for
this.
it. But a group of intelligent, and I say intelligent with in quotes and with the highest level possible that I can to try to not be annoyed. But a group of intelligent Kenyans decided to hire an ambulance, and this ambulance then proceeded to take them to a party. But the only way that they would be able to beat the curfew was to travel in an ambulance, because they knew that nobody would stop them while using this ambulance. And lo and behold, they then now going to a party to party.
What madness is that? Like, really, I think those people should have been paraded there at that
Honestly,
press conference. So that we're told from here they're going straight to a police station and then they'll be taken to court and they'll be charged. Because really, you can't just say, you guys, so, I mean, we are thirsty, but now, you know, bars have been closed. What do? We can't beat a curfew.
But let me ask you something.
But I know a guy who drives an ambulance because the person who drives the ambulance is also a conspirator.
Oh God!
Of course they are.
My pal in the ambulance.
I have a guy who has an ambulance.
I know a guy. Call the guy.
Take us to this party.
It
And
means
you
that
all-
the guy who drives the ambulance was also of a similar mindset.
Of course.
Yes.
In fact, maybe he's the one who gave them the idea. You know, you guys.
I have an
Nobody stops me. Yeah. I can ferry. We have heard these stories and we've been thinking that they're just jokes. People saying that ambulances are distributing alcohol. They've become the new distributor of alcohol. In the middle of the night, you're feeling kind of thirsty and you just call your boy.
Bring for me.
What do you want? Brings you the booze. What? City
That's the thing. It hasn't sunk.
Social scientist, City. Why do people behave the way they behave?
But it's not that this behavior is new. It's not that they're not doing something that they haven't been doing. Remember, what you're seeing here is defiance. It's manifesting itself in this way, but it's defiance.
Yeah.
Right? Defying social norms, defying the government. But you will define that defiance to suit your purposes. For some people, it'll be this gava, because it's XYZ,
I'll show them.
Yeah.
we are going to behave ABC.
Meanwhile, you're showing yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Essentially, what you've done is, if you think the government is stupid, you are then showing them how equally stupid you are. Now, that's not very smart, is it?
It is not smart at all.
Look,
I mean, it's
the government makes mistakes. Man, don't we just know this? But this really isn't the time to even have this discussion beyond saying, this is wrong, let's put it right in this manner. This is what has not been done. Let's see how we can do it by contributing this way.
Yep.
The contribution that the government is asking of the citizenry is something that is not too much to ask. It's saying, stay put. And I've given you time. There's curfew from this point, but you can move around. But maintain social distance. Is that instruction really that difficult to understand? And is life so unimportant that you think that disobeying the government is far more important than staying alive?
Yeah.
Well, you know, a good friend of ours actually talked about the value that, you know, people place on human life. And I actually think that it is quite low. in terms of what people. It is not even regarded it's really about the now and what can I enjoy in this moment without thinking about, it's kind of like carpe diem, fly by the seat of your pants, seize the day. It's just now. After all, this corona, it's over there. It's not here. I can continue to booze with my friends. That it won't touch me after all.
It's fine.
I'm in an ambulance, for crying out loud. I'll be fine.
What City have basically said, it resonates now. It's defiance.
It is defiance.
Government told you try as much as possible to stay at home. The first defiance is Nikule Nini. And just because of that, because you've asked Nikule Nini.
And because the government has said it.
Because the government has said it and told you stay at home, you are saying, if you want me to stay at home, then feed me. And if you're not feeding me, then I'll get out.
Go
It's
out.
okay.
You
The
will
government
die.
has not told you we are putting out a complete imposition of a curfew. You can still get out. But when you're out, observe social distancing. The government can't control me and my movement if they're not going to feed me. So therefore, you're going to mingle and mix with everybody without observing these other measures. So you just say, okay, I will not stay at home because I need to get out. I need to earn a living. But when I'm out there, I'll be responsible. One defiance knocks down the entire domino chain for everything else. What nonsense is that?
This is absolute nonsense. And
Listen.
here we heard Musayi Kagwe yesterday, and I quote what he said, because this is Easter weekend. You can imagine what would have been happening from last night if things were normal, as it were. So people are still in that. Hold on a minute.
If the
It's
lockdown of
Easter.
Nairobi had not happened,
My friend, he said, this being an Easter weekend, I want to make a special plea to all Kenyans to strictly stay at home and to observe all the other measures we have put in place. Do not host parties and make the usual Easter visits. This guy is begging you. And you know that this is the thing you have to realize. He's not coming in this place from a point of authority to say, I'm going to lord this one over you. Please. Stay at home. I don't think that they enjoy coming to tell us every day the way they do between 2:30 and 4 o'clock on a daily that we've increased the cases. I don't think they enjoy doing this. I don't think they want to come and tell Kenyans, actually, you know what? We're getting to the point whereby we're going to have to come and report to you that actually what we feared most is what is the reality. I don't think these folks want to do that. And I don't think they want to be at a place whereby you're fighting now to save life. No. This is where in the health system, 1000% prevention is better than cure, because guess what, there is no cure.
yeah,
There is this thought among many people that if you look at risks and risk-taking behavior, that you'll find that behavior is exhibited more among the youth. It is not true. Research has found it as way back as 1993. There are many research projects on this particular matter, but the one which stood out was by gentlemen. It was a group of people, someone called Maron, Austin, Barrett. They came up with this understanding that actually there really wasn't that much of a difference. So then the discussion was then taken to the development of the brain and how brain receives certain things. The truth is this, if you look at everything that we're discussing here that qualifies as defiance, believe me, it is uniform. It is democratic. Each age group is just doing it in their own way. There are those who are getting into ambulances. There are those who are crossing borders on foot. There are those who are congregating in marketplaces and not even thinking of social distancing. There are those who are meeting with their friends in town and talk. Just look across board. This one, you cannot pin it. The only people, even if you don't enforce it as a parent in the places you live in, you will find that the children congregate to play. They may have masks, but there's no social distancing.
yeah.
So if you're talking about risk, it is evenly spread.
This is the thing. And, just as you talk about places where you live, and I gave you guys a story as we're having a cup of tea yesterday, in the estate in which I reside in, we heard a ruckus and a man came out with his belt, chasing 19 and 20-year-olds out of another home where they had gone to congregate playing loud music. This man was not joking with this thing. His son was amongst them, and he went to the house and chased them all out and proceeded to blast the father of the home, the parents of the home, to ask them.
Were they at home?
This is the thing that was baffling to me. The
So the
parents were
parents
at
are at
home.
home.
There are about 6 or 7 boys sitting around in your living room, having a good old time, blasting music all over the place in times where we've asked people to stay away. And I'm raising this because I think we also have a responsibility at this point to call out where we see things not going in the way in which they should be.
Name
You
and
can't
shame.
you can't just sit. It's not business as usual, because these are unusual times in which we find ourselves in. You see such things going on, you have every right as a citizen to break up those and to call people out for what they should not be doing. We can't just sit and say, yeah, well, okay, these guys are not maintaining, but I am in my little cocoon. I am maintaining. No, because when this thing strikes, it doesn't choose who it strikes.
If one person in that house tested positive,
Finish.
all those children, their households would have to go into isolation.
Exactly. And this is the thing. It scared me. It you said it a couple of days ago, and it rang very true for me. If your child has symptoms, you can imagine a 3-4-year-old child coming and being picked up. You as the parents, you're going nowhere. You will not be with that child. You will not have any control over how they treat him or her. You will not. You will stay home and you will wait until they come back and tell you it's okay to come and pick them up. Who wants to live with that horror?
Actually, you'll all go. The entire household will be taken because all of you have
Come into contact.
come into contact, but you'll be taken to different places.
You know, the coronavirus, this COVID-19, is nothing that we have faced before.
Ever.
It has similarities with other pandemics, but it is not those pandemics. It is clearly and obviously infectious. There's nothing, you can't doubt it. And you don't need 10 people to have it in a space. One. That's it.
Yep.
One. And understanding this again is not difficult. But unlearning this mindset that we've had of defiance. Remember, Eric, you asked the questions. I'm going to answer it in a little more detail in 2 sentences. You know, most people will not speak up in public. Remember, you've heard me say on many occasions that our people are passive-aggressive.
Yeah.
This is what you see. They will not speak out and say, I don't like this. But they will act defiantly, especially if they're in groups. And worse still, even when it's against them, even when it doesn't benefit them, they will still act defiantly. Because somehow they feel, this is how I hit back. This isn't that time. The reason why even our laws allow for a law of emergency, we have it with all the democratic space we have within our constitution. We have it. Why? Because there's an understanding that a time may come, there'll be something that threatens the lives of every citizen.
Yep.
So you can't have debates. This public participation put aside for the time being.
Yeah, it's not a discussion.
No.
No.
This is what everybody does, because you know why? As human beings, we understand that collectivity in just doing the same thing is what will help you.
And you've got to be helped to be collective in doing the same thing.
Yes, you have to. It's that understanding. The government shouldn't really pussyfoot about a lockdown
Crack
for the entire
down on
country.
these things.
They shouldn't.
Just crack down.
It's going to put us in a situation we will not be able to engage a reverse gear on.
Yeah. At 16 minutes after 7, let's hear from Victor, who's calling in from Kericho, and then we go into weather break. Good morning, Victor.
Yes, morning, Eric.
How are
Morning.
I'm fine, thank you. Morning, Do and City.
Good
morning.
morning.
Yes, Eric, of late I've been a silent listener because of, I thought it was time to give those who had a lot of expertise on this COVID-19 to maybe tell us more.
Yes.
But today I've been irritated. Kenyans are tough-headed, and I've decided to wade in on this matter today.
Let's hear you.
I think a total lockdown should be the way Kenya should go. Because Kenyans ideally are tough-headed. If we can't take these minute instructions, we are being told to maintain 1.5 meters social distance. We don't get that. If you're not an essential service provider, stay at home. They don't stay at home.
Yeah.
You find teachers, it's almost 1 month now, they are at home, but still they congregate in they form their cocoons, telling a lot of rumors in COVID-19. So you wonder, what Kenyans do we want?
So lockdown is the way to go for you, Victor. That's what you're saying.
It's lockdown, Mary. I think it's lockdown.
Watu wakule nini?
You know, Eric, once we are dead, shall we continue eating.
No, we shall not. Even at the point when you fall sick,
Yes.
providing for your family becomes a problem.
Yeah, becomes a problem. So what I think, even me right now,
Mm.
my business is in the forest, and we are partly essential service providers.
Yeah.
But tunafanya these things. We observe all these things,
Mm.
and we only get out when necessary.
When you must.
And observing all these directives given by the government.
You sound sufficiently irritated, Victor, and it's a good thing.
I'm totally irritated by Kenyans.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
If all of us actually got sufficiently irritated, then we will do the right thing.
Yeah, I think Mr. President should impose something of
Total
of
lockdown.
of emergency. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for your call, Victor.
Thank you.
What do you think? Should we go into a proper full lockdown? Should we not? 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Lockdown or not? Good morning. 20 minutes after 7.
All right, looking how things may have changed a little bit. It'll be partly cloudy in Nairobi, overcast. The sun will try and peek out later, though. 17 degrees currently, highs of 26 and lows of 16. Nyeri at 17 degrees, will be mostly cloudy today. We're looking at highs of 24 and lows of 16. In Nakuru at 15 degrees is partly cloudy and rainy conditions, highs of 27 and lows of 14. Eldoret is partly cloudy at 15 degrees, highs of 26 and lows of 13. Kisumu at 21 degrees, mostly cloudy for parts of the day, and then into thunderstorms with highs of 29 and lows of 21. Looking into Malindi at 27 degrees, it's partly cloudy, highs of 32 and lows of 26. Into Kampala now, and it's rainy this morning, quite wet conditions at 21 degrees. It'll continue for most parts of the day with highs of 27. In Dar es Salaam, it's partly cloudy this morning at 26 degrees. Showers expected in the afternoon with highs of 31 and lows of 25. Johannesburg this morning is mostly cloudy at 12 degrees, highs of 20 and lows of 11. Taking a look then into Lagos at 27 degrees, partly cloudy conditions, highs of 34 and lows of 26. With afternoon showers.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
2 days ago, there were young people who wanted to beat the curfew to go to a party, and guess what they got to go for the party with? An ambulance. That's how bad it gets. You take an ambulance under the guise of sickness to go and hang out instead of leaving the ambulance for the kind of purposes that you are asking. So again, we are also using this opportunity. I'll write on your question.
You know,
ask
Mutahi
Kenyans
Kagwe, you have tried.
to be more responsible.
Really, you have tried. You have really pleaded. You have cajoled. You have used Swahili. You have mixed it. You almost went into Kikuyu. People are not listening. Just go ahead and do the bigger thing that you want. Just drop the hammer. Let's go to Peter in Nairobi. Good morning, Peter.
Hello, Latif. How are you?
Me, I'm fine. And you?
I'm very well. I've not called for a while,
Yes.
But now things are bad. I have to call.
Yes. Should we lock down or should we not?
We should go for a full lockdown. What we are doing,
Yep.
if you look about what's happening in other countries, after all is said and done,
Yep.
many countries have gone for a full lockdown. So now what I'm asking is, why are we taking too long to go for this thing? Just 21 days and we're back to work, all of us. I'm feeling, let's say, for example, if the rapid tests are well done,
Yes.
we just go for a full lockdown for 21 days and all of us go back to work. It will be better than going half-half. We close Nairobi, we close Kilifi. Why don't we just do it once, like the most progressive countries have done? Then we come back, all of us. That's it.
And well,
And
our
then,
numbers are still low anyway.
Yeah, even if the numbers are low, but you don't know how many people have been affected. The numbers are low because you've gotten them. What about those you have not gotten?
We haven't gotten.
And why can't we decide to go so early? Then we come back, all of us, instead of going halfway. Now you see, now Kenyans have started contributing money.
Yep.
That means we are headed there.
So let's
So why
just
don't
get
we
there
just
anyway.
decide once? And then what I was saying is, these countries which are well developed, I don't know if our government is able to send people money. For example, assume for example you send every Kenyan 5,000 shillings. People will go stay home because you say also sending people home and you don't give them money to eat. This is true that I can't stay in the house and I don't have food.
Yeah.
Yeah, send every Kenyan 5,000 shillings. Tell them to stay home for 21 days. Kenyans will stay at home.
People will stay at home.
And then they'll come back, all of them. We are done.
Kabisa. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Peter. Thank you. It's good to be so annoyed.
Yes.
Asante sana. Mwalimu Kamau.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. How is everyone there?
Good,
We are
thank
well,
you.
thank
Good
you.
morning.
Mwalimu, lockdown or not?
You know, we as teachers, we already locked down ourselves. We started already, yeah?
Yeah.
You know, it is good to lock down. At least Kenya right now, we have a resource. We can check other countries which have already done that and see what happened, what is happening, or what should happen when a lockdown takes place. You can go to Rwanda, Uganda, or any other country that have done that. And we can get, in case we go to a lockdown, the government can get enough information on what's supposed to do in case it is decided to do so.
Yeah.
We should not be, at least you're not the first ones. At least we cannot make mistakes like the way I hear some countries making some mistakes. Like yesterday you were talking to somebody from South Africa. And there are those mistakes they were doing there. At least we can learn from them and not do what they did. And we do a proper lockdown, a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm support though we do some research on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mwalimu.
Thank you.
What do you think? 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Should we go to a lockdown already? People are not listening to what the government is telling them. People are flouting these regulations. We are seeing wherever you're going, people are not observing the social distancing. People are going to the extent of commandeering an ambulance so that they can go to a party,
I don't understand.
so that they can beat the curfew. Use an ambulance, go for a party. The president has told us, do this. The CS, every single day, CS Mutahi Kagwe comes, and before he reads the numbers, he starts by saying, I am urging you Kenyans. I am pleading with you Kenyans.
He begged.
I am begging
Yesterday he begged.
you. Nawaongelesha kwa Kiswahili. Tafadhali. Surely.
City, I have a question, and then I can make a point after that. When we, with HIV, because we saw that after some time, the prevalence of the disease in a host body, it would then present. We saw emaciated, looking individuals before the onset of ARV treatment. By the time the disease had ravaged your body, you could see that somebody was ill, almost skin and bones kind of thing. And did you find that when people saw this, that they want to follow the ABCs, abstinence, wear a condom? Would they want to change? Would that trigger some change or some kind of behavioral change by virtue of what they saw?
The change is what was fear. So then you introduced stigma, and it came in droves. It brought all its relatives with it. What you expected was that people would change the way they behave as a result of this. No, they didn't really. They didn't.
So this is what we are seeing now.
Initially, people gave the impression they were changing. For instance, people were told to use condoms if they were distributed for free. People would take condoms. They might even use it. The word was consistently, but they'd use it once or twice. Thereafter, they stopped. And when you asked, because you would ask, and they'd say, well, you've not been using it for some time. And I think we're okay.
We're okay. Take a short break. Take a pause. Otieno in Nairobi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, how are you guys?
We're well, thank you.
How are you?
Okay, I'm also well. My concern is only three things. One, we had been promised by WHO that we are going to die, we Africa. And
there was a promise.
We are going to die more. Yeah, it was a promise.
At what point did they make this promise, Mr. Otieno?
They promised us when they were telling us that people from Italian are dying, Spanish are dying, so Africa does not have those kits to measure whether we have got the disease or not, and that since we had got no kits. That means that this disease is spread all over Africa, and we are not measuring it. Therefore, it will hit us like hell. And we were given the second week after the first report in any country. So I remember it is more than 2 weeks now since it was reported. And again, I realized that our own Dr. Moth, also promised us that we are going to be affected by about 10,000 within this month. So today we are on 10th. So what I'm saying is, one, with all these statistics, these people who are learned, who have went to school, they are giving us a lot of statistics on anything and everything, and quoting a lot of research which is either imagined or reality. And therefore, my only concern is that whenever a researcher or a purported researcher wants to quote something, it must be more of reality than imagined. Because I was I wondered when Dr. Mott was telling us.
So Otieno, what basically you're saying is you're questioning the models that have been used. The model that was released by the government, which was saying by mid-April 5,000, maybe end. Worst case scenarios, remember.
Then at the end of April, it will be 10,000.
No. They didn't say it will be.
It was a probability.
Yes, they were projecting and saying there is this possibility. If this and this doesn't happen, if this and this isn't in place, the probability is that by this time this will happen. And some of the things that they said had not happened, if you've seen, they have tried to enforce them. So the situation is not that which would have brought about the results that they had foreseen might happen if we hadn't put certain things in place.
And we also need to understand that the World Health, Otieno, I think it's very important for us to understand this, because we run the risk of saying, well, since they said it was going to happen, then it has not happened, and things are not as serious, then we are fine. And we run the risk of doing that, and it's very dangerous at this point. But we must also understand that people then make what they call scientific inferences based on what they have seen happening in other parts of the world. And some of the countries that they were taking these examples from, one of them was Italy. If they saw the same thing that happened in Italy replicated in other countries of the world, then they were able to make an inference and say such a thing could happen in Kenya. I hope you can see that. Because one day in Italy, the cases were at 406.
Then
3 days
Yeah, okay,
later,
okay.
the cases were at 2,000. So they were looking at that until we get to the point where they are at 130 something thousand in less than a month. Now they said we are
This
taking
one, why
this,
I-
just a minute. We are taking this example and examples that we see in other countries in the world. And based on that, especially with World Health Organization, based on the low numbers that we're seeing in Africa, if the same can be replicated to Africa, then it is likely that in certain countries we will see these numbers rise. That is what they said, and I think we must be careful when we're putting out this information.
Okay. One more thing. The reason why I'm concerned on that is because we people who have not gone to school so well. I was walking along a certain slum area, and I overhear some little boys talking about corona, and they were perpetuating this probability. So the difference between probability amongst the population and the reality is they will pick probability as reality. So they were spreading that there will be 10,000 people who will be affected. So this thing was spreading like a fire on a bush, and it was more of a fear campaign which was amongst the population. And though now we are being told about flattening the curve, I think I'm hoping for the best, if the best will come.
And what does the best look like for you?
The best is open for us. Our opportunities. We hide our nose and mouths under those head masks. We keep distance. We wash our hands. Then we go on with our work. That's all. I think that's the best.
Okay.
Because if we do this lockdown or whatever they are calling for, there will be the first people to cry again. That's the funny thing about Kenya. They always listen to what foreigners are doing, and then they put their shoes, their legs in the same shoes. Then again, less than a week or so, they will start crying.
At a personal level, Otieno, do you observe social distancing?
Of course. I've been quarantined for 21 days. Then now I'm out and about. Then I've been trying to observe. Though some people will just be greeting you by force, failure to which you will be punished by being told that nowadays unaringa nani. So
when do you fall for that when someone insists that they want to?
I will tell them I'm always very cunning. Sometimes I will tell them that my religion does not allow people to greet people.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Otieno. Thank you for your call.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Keep listening. This is Situation with Kenya's biggest conversation, 25 minutes to 8. Let's take a look at traffic. And then we are asking you, and you want you to call in 0719012600. Should we go for a lockdown or should we not? Should we delay this or should we go straight into the lockdown? Good morning.
Around most cities
87.9
in
Spice.
Kenya, Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa, most of these towns that we're seeing, Eldoret even, all sleepy towns and cities this morning. Not much traffic whatsoever. It is Good Friday. It is a public holiday. At the same time, we are maintaining that not much movement is what was prescribed in COVID times. So no traffic wherever we look at it. I don't think it's even going to pick up at any point in time. And we want to know, though, what might be happening in your neck of the woods. If you see something that we should know about, do let us know. Spice7KE on Twitter. That's how you can reach us. Let us know.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
3 to 8. This is a situation. Let's go back to the lines. Wamboi in Royo. Good morning. Hello, Wamboi.
Oh, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning again.
I'm calling from Ruizu,
Yes.
and your show is awesome, guys. I usually listen to you on a daily.
Asante
you.
sana.
Thank you very much.
Okay, my point is, yes, I am for a lockdown, However, like, I've been brought up in Tarakaniti, and Tarakaniti is a semi-arid area. Even before this, the government used to provide food to some families in Tarakaniti. And trust me, that relief food goes to very few people, as in the people on top are so corrupt. So if the government says that they want to provide food for those people in those areas, they should ensure that everyone has food. Because Kenyans, yes, I would like to stay at home, but as someone who's been brought up in Tarakaniti, I know most people there have more than 5 kids, and those kids wameachana na kama mwaka moja mbili. Imagine all those babies crying to you for food. Na saizo, you're not, as in, how among the favored ones who are at the top who get food, and those at the bottom with like 8 to 10 kids get sometimes very little, like mikebe mbili za mahindi, and that's all. So I think if the government says they will provide for the needy people, they should actually make sure these leaders should sacrifice, just like they're sacrificing and contributing money.
They should sacrifice their greed,
sacrifice their time and everything to ensure that everyone is catered for. Because yes, the food will come, but not everyone gets it.
Good point. Yep. Good point. Thank you, Mboi. Thank you. She's raising a valid point here. I mean,
this one is extremely valid.
The fear is, all right, so I stay at home and then I'm waiting for food to be brought. By who?
And
the
they've
chief,
seen food distribution before.
Yeah.
And they've seen how it has worked out.
Yep.
But is this not the same complaint that we've heard in other times when there's famine around other parts of the country?
It's true.
Yes, the food happens to be there, but it never really gets to all the people who it's supposed to get to.
It needs to be managed in a better way. And even the distribution, should it be food, should it be a care park, should it be money that you're sent and then you go to the local, so that you keep the local economy thriving?
Look, what is Rwanda doing? And there's no question in terms of how they're distributing this food. And they've employed, or rather deployed, the army to do this food distribution. They've already mapped it out. They have an idea of where these families live. And they know that this is the care pack, whether it's the maize, the rice, the oil, the beans, whatever it is, it has been prescribed from the get-go. So there's no question, I didn't get, will I get tomorrow? I got twice. Nothing like that. Or can we have some member of parliament or some politician involved in the process, like the nonsense that we see going on in Lagos now? No, it is very clear. This is the pack. These are the families. The list has already been sorted out, and it is army. You know, ask question army question. The food is going out. It's given. Question.
You know what is really strange? Yeah? What you're discussing, as someone who grew up at the coast, every month, when people celebrate the holy month of Ramadan, people who want to distribute food, it's packaged, yeah?
It's packaged,
10 kilos of this, 10
yes.
It's packaged.
Yes.
And believe me, it gets to the people who need them.
Everybody.
It gets
because
there.
They don't use the government. They're using community machinery.
They know the people who need, and you'll find someone is telling you one individual, he's saying, I'll take care of 22 families.
Yep.
And believe me, it is done.
It is sorted.
This is a challenge to Christians, if I may say so myself. Lent came to an end. 40 days of fasting as we anticipate this period of Easter. Yes, maybe I think with Christians, we say we shouldn't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. But the truth of the hand is the hand that has received it should also tell us.
Yeah.
Do we actually have plans? We call ourselves a Christian nation. Now, this is the time when this Christianity needs to be shown.
Christian leaders need to come together and say, this is what we're doing.
This is what we're going to do for our people.
Yeah, because they've
this
got
is
the
call we're going to make. Yes.
They've got a network. Go back to the phone lines. We've got a couple of people on the line. Abdi in Nanyuki, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning,
Fine,
Abdi.
thank you. Abdi.
According to me, there's no two way about it. Lockdown is a must because this is a situation of whether to save humanity or not.
Right.
Because here, Africa mainly depends on the gestures from the Western world. Because hardly do we come about with a solution to such a big problem of this magnitude. So the only thing we can afford is to prevent, and prevention is only by locking down.
Hmm.
You know, at the end of it, this epidemic, when we look at Italy and Spain, death is imminent, and that number of deaths is what Africa cannot afford.
Yeah.
Lockdown, if anything, it will bring about shedding the much weight maybe we have put. Because if we will be talking about hunger, at least the family will suffer for some time.
And
but they will
emerge.
not be, yes, they won't be losing families in large numbers.
True.
So whether we will be talking about, we are reasoning from the perspective of democracy, human rights.
Mm.
But democracy and human rights cannot precede the life
Of the people.
Of the people.
True. Very
So
good
when
points.
when we'll be talking about working, how will I feed my children? How many children are being fed when the parents are already dead? How can they come back and feed their children?
Yep.
So we should not be looking at from the perspective of constitutionality, the human right. We are having people going to
It's
court
about
that
life. Thank you,
it's
Abdi.
about life.
Thank you,
Yes.
Abdi. Well, you're in Nanyuki this morning, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much for tuning in. Stay tuned. We'll be
you.
speaking to your governor, the governor of Laikipia, and Rita Moridi will be joining us at 8 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you.
Alfred in Kisumu, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Latif.
How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Lockdown or not?
Lockdown, 24 hours.
For how long?
It should come like yesterday. We should do a pilot test for maybe 21 days to see how it goes. Because Kenyans are Kenyans, and the attitude that we have is so casual. That is situation whereby we are like, wacha tungoje ifike. And when it comes, it will wipe us out.
Yeah.
The kind of attitude that we have, my friends, is really, really pathetic. So I'm really praying that the government takes this initiative and does the lockdown like yesterday. Yes, we'll suffer for some time, but the few lives that will be saved will be worth the lockdown.
Cool our heels, so to speak.
Yes, sure. Exactly.
Thank you very much, Alfred.
Then another thing before we disconnect.
Yep.
Kisumu, our governor, I understand is also the CEC for health.
Yes.
I tell you, Kisumu is sitting on a time bomb.
Why?
Face masks not available even in the local dispensaries. I have friends who are medics. They're my neighbors, and what they tell me, it's worse, my friend.
Thank you, Alfred. Good points. We'll reach out to him and ask him these questions, so we can hear, as the acting CC for health, what he's telling his boss, the governor.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Say hi to City Muga.
City is here, Mesalimika.
Thank you very much. And have a nice day.
Stephen Kiambu, good morning.
Morning, guys. How are you?
We're
Good
fine,
morning,
thank you.
Steve.
You know, when I talk to my friends, it seems to me that the people calling for a lockdown are those that have the luxury of being able to afford panic shopping. So they have stocked their houses, they have enough cereals and whatnot to last a month or 2 or 3. And so if you say lockdown, they have powdered milk, they have stocked extra cylinder of gas and whatnot. But what I'm wondering is, for the Kenyan who lives hand to mouth, is this a practicality? Because you see, in that case, you'll be looking at the possibility of mass starvation.
Does
starvation also kills.
Does lockdown to you, Steve, mean that you cannot get out of the house at all, even to go for shopping?
But you see, of course, already you're talking about reduced opportunities. Already you're talking about companies that are holding on to cash because they don't want to spend.
Yep.
It's a wait-and-see situation.
Yep.
Just like when you have an electioneering period. Of course, I'm a business leader, so I know what my fellow businessmen are doing.
Yep.
On our side, we have frozen hiring. We've taken pay cuts, and it's a situation that is going to be analyzed on a month-to-month basis. So there is no circulation of money. So the person who was living hand to mouth is in a more distressed situation as we speak right now.
So, Steve, we are where we are.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Right now, we don't have a lockdown.
Yes.
The government has instituted measures, asked people to observe social distancing, wash hands and all.
Yes.
It is not happening. So what do we do?
You know, if you say complete lockdown,
No.
what goes through my mind?
What do you understand by a complete lockdown, Steve?
What I understand by a complete lockdown is perhaps similar to what happened in Wuhan.
What happened in Wuhan?
There is no movement even within where you live.
Yep.
If that is what we're talking about, that you don't live, you know, in Wuhan, what I'm told by someone who was there is that even at your door they would put a tape, and if you open the door and you move the tape, you know, you get an SMS because it triggers
the alarm. Yes.
Triggers the alarm somewhere else.
Yep.
If we say that one cannot even move about where they live, so that you cannot even, you see, at the moment you can leave and go to town and come back.
Steve, let's come back. Let's come back to my question.
Kenyans are not listening to what they're being told.
No
lockdown.
So what do we do?
I'm saying it's a catch-22 position.
So what do we do?
Damned if we don't. I think for the moment, as it is right now, that you can.
What would we need to have in place to make a lockdown practical or practicable?
I think if we can assure, as the lady was saying earlier, and I sympathize with her, that if we are going to be able to distribute food and necessities to the people who need them, and there's a structure in place to actually do that.
Yep.
I think it would reduce that panic, and it would make that prolonged period of lockdown, or let's say a month or two, or whatever it is, it's going to be.
To make it bearable.
Practical for Kenyans. Otherwise, if some, I'm imagining, because I didn't grow up in a privileged...
Thank you. We hear you. Let me pick the other callers now. Duncan in Kajiado, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
How you doing?
No, I think Steve is asleep.
Steve is asleep?
Let me just be open. Yes, Steve is asleep, the previous caller. Because I wish you guys would come to Kitengela. People are not observing any rules. Yesterday I was even thinking of kutoa nyaunyo, yanze kutembea nayo kwa barabara, so that people can observe the 1 meter rule. And if it's reaching to that point that people are not observing the same guidelines that are being given by the government, it's high time that we did a lockdown. Ethiopia is doing it. Ethiopia has a state of emergency, yes?
Yeah.
Uganda has the same.
Yep.
What's the difference between Uganda, South Africa, Ethiopia, and us? Rwanda are doing it the same.
Yeah.
But now my point comes now to the food. If the government is clear, and Siti Muga was saying, personally, I'm a revert. I'm a Muslim, by the way. And what happens with Muslims during Ramadan, during Eid Fitri, the morning, people wanagawana chakula kilo moja, and they pack it in a way that everybody from that mosque will get the food. Yes. So if the government can use the same initiative with probably, let's say, the youth organizations, and not use, probably they can use the chiefs, but personally they can use the youth organizations in each town, so that they can be able to distribute the food.
Thank you, Duncan. This is Stephen in Nakuru now. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Thank you for staying on the line. What do you think? Should we do a lockdown or not?
I'm not into the idea of a complete lockdown. I will suggest a stratified lockdown where the hotspots are, like currently we have the 4 counties. We can have the lockdown for the 4 counties. Because essentially a lockdown, to me, there's a gentleman who contributed and said that the government should give like 5,000 to every person. Quick arithmetic, that is 125 billion. And I believe the government cannot afford. I will quote C.T. Muga, who said that the government is very broke and it actually needs help. So when we say we are going to lock down the entire nation...
C.T.'s insistence is actually on 2 things. One, the government is broke of ideas, but it has money. That's what
I don't think it has money also.
That's where C.T. comes from.
Actually, they have money.
I don't think they have money also.
Me, I agree with you, Stephen. I think they don't have money, but yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So to me, my idea would be that we need to have that stratified lockdown, and then that might work for us.
So lock down the residents of Nairobi, Kilifi, Kwale, Mombasa.
Exactly.
But let people in Lamu and Turkana and West Pokot continue with their lives as usual.
And Kenyans are calling for this thing called lockdown. They don't know what it means. So after we have locked down Nairobi, actually the entire nation will starve.
Yeah.
So they will have a feeling of what lockdown really means. Because after this, there is the comeback of the economy. And we need to have a balance, not a balance. How are we going to bring back the economy and how are we going to save lives?
True. Thank you very much,
Yes.
Stephen. Let me go to Kisumu. Trevor, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
We are fine.
Morning.
First of all, just pass my thanks to Daktari. She really does a very awesome coverage of all this, especially in questioning the CS and the people doing the interviews.
She is listening to you, Dr. Mercy Karir. Umesikia.
Oh.
Right?
Okay. And secondly, I think I'd go for, well, first of all, I'd appreciate if the government explained to Kenyans what they intend to do when they say we want you to go for a lockdown. That way, and then it gives people a bit of time to understand and then get into the possibility of agreeing, disagreeing, or rioting, whatever they want to do before the government can act it. Because I see a situation whereby the morals of people are going to be eroded in this sense. When the government says there's going to be a lockdown, for example, there are people who cannot afford to buy food or stock food. The people who can buy food will rush into the supermarket and buy everything. Because you'll get in the supermarket and somebody with a cartload of food items and sanitizers and everything. And we agree, yes, you're doing this for your family. Then the next person comes and finds you to wipe clean the shelves. So how exactly would they advise maybe somebody to go ahead and start things in case there's going to be a lockdown? So for me, I'd really like it there to be a lockdown, but before we lock down, we should at least explain to people this exactly what we mean by a lockdown based on ABCD models.
Clear communication.
That will at least help us. And then the problem with my viewing is the problem with the lockdown is fine, we'll do mass testing. And then after we've done mass testing, maybe they will discover X amount of people are unwell and they'll need to go to hospital. Now, the laws of natural selection take effect. When you take all these people to isolation wards and then we find people maybe are unwell, who need extra care, and we have already realized that we do not have all the materials to do this, won't there be some form of corruption, so to speak, in the healthcare system? In that, first of all, are the medics
who gets the care and who doesn't? I think CT has a question for you here.
No, actually, I'm listening to him and I'm agreeing with him because one of the hallmarks of the COVID-19 is panic. Worst case scenario in everything.
Yeah.
The government of Kenya has an abundance of resources. I'm repeating, the government of Kenya has an abundance of resources. Where we have a deficit has always been in the willingness of the government of Kenya to use those resources for the purposes that it is intended for. That's where the deficit comes in. Case in point, we're busy planning how to buy maize. Where are we going to get the money to buy this maize that we're thinking from if we are utterly broke? We are not utterly broke. Resources don't have to be cash money. Resources has to be the human capacity to do things, the structures to do things. We have those things. And all these things have not been utilized to the point that you can say we've exhausted them. We actually even haven't begun fully utilizing these resources. What you're saying is a worst case scenario of what would happen if there was a lockdown. Now, this one you have to understand. This one I'm saying on behalf of the government. The government is doing something right now. If you can't see it, open your eyes just a little wider, open your ears a little more, and listen. They have set up structures. The silence, I think, is where they go wrong again. They're not communicating what they're doing or planning, so we don't know. But we are being communicated to by the Ministry of Health. We are being told. I am certain The government is going to tell us what they want to do with all these things to allay the fears and to forestall the panic. I'm sure they will. I pray that they do it today and tomorrow. I pray. But they have things in place. That I'm certain of.
Things are in place. Communication is where the issues would
That's
come in.
where the hiccup is.
And that's what Trevor is talking
Yeah,
about.
that's
Thank
it.
you very much, Trevor.
Thanks.
We wish you all the best in Kisumu. Stay safe and keep your social distance.
Actually,
Maintain physical.
I've been locked away in Kisumu. I reside in Nairobi, but ever since this began, I just stayed away.
You are safer there. Stay there.
Safer there for sure.
All right. Thank you very much, Steve. Coming up to the top of the hour, in the next hour, we'll be talking to Nderito Mureithi, the governor of Laikipia County. We want to hear what the government of Laikipia County is doing in terms of preparing itself for that. Yesterday, we also saw some images going around on social media that Aga Khan Hospital in Nairobi has extended its capacity and put up a 100-bed capacity isolation ward at the Aga Khan Sports Club. We'll be speaking to the head of emergency at Aga Khan Hospital at 9 o'clock to hear exactly what this is all about. And the question that I always want to ask is, at what cost? Do you want us to pay? How much do you want us to pay you for this? Anyway, City Muga, let's have today's proverb.
Simple, straightforward. It takes a village to raise a child.
It takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
Concerted effort.
Yes.
Hakuna mtoto wa mama yake peke yake.
Hapana. Hakuna.
It takes a village to raise a child. Just as we go to the top of the hour, let me just tell you what Professor Kenneth Otuombe told me yesterday. The lockdown in South Africa has been extended by 2 weeks due to its positive effect in lowering the rates of new infection. And this is what he says. The rate of infection before lockdown was 46% per day. That means if you had 100 yesterday, you get 46 new cases today and 46 new cases tomorrow on average. But now, since the lockdown, that has dropped down to 4%.
We can
46, 4.
And if we would do
lockdown.
if we were to do an audit of the countries that have actually now enforced lockdowns and then being able to understand how this has helped, I think we can do that when we come back and look at some of that in a bit.
Yep. Coming up to the top of the hour. Good morning. It's 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice
Those are looking
FM.
really good around where we are. Mombasa Road, as you would normally expect to be traffic, it's absolutely clear. Nothing is happening. Thika Road looks just the same. Everybody's at home right now. It is a public holiday, and the minister has said, please stay home. Just stay home and reflect. Good season to do so. If something major happens, we'll be sure to let you know, but I don't see that coming anytime soon. Spice FM KE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up.
So before
not
we
down.
talk to the Laikipia governor,
This is the Situation Room,
who's
the
online,
only way to start your
before
day.
we went to the top of the hour, you're telling us about other countries that have also instituted those tough measures.
Right, because I think one of the things we look at all the time is that we say, okay, in the event of a lockdown, how are we going to be able to feed our people this, that, the other thing? If we look at Myanmar, and I get this information from my sister who lives in Myanmar, and she says look, they're not joking. A Myanmar with a population of 54 million people have 23 cases, 3 deaths, 2 having recovered, okay? 23 cases. And they locked down this country from the 10th today, which is an extended lockdown.
10th of
April.
What does a lockdown
Today's
mean in
10th of
Myanmar?
April.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now there was a lockdown. So now today it has been extended for another at least
define
until
this
the
lockdown.
19th.
What is it?
So now the lockdown for them means that they stay at home. They're not going anywhere. However, you can order for supplies. The supplies are brought to your home. My sister lives in a gated community. They don't go to the gate, the main gate. You go to the gate, the security sends you back. You need something, it's an emergency, food or medicine, that is it. 23 cases out of a population of 54 million. According to what she has said, the government is not joking with this thing. 23 cases, as far as they're concerned, is way too many. Way too many. The government is providing food and supplies for less fortunate Burmese people, or as they call them now, Myanmar people. And Myanmar people have come together to donate food for the less fortunate. But they have understood also that if we don't do what the government has said, we will die. They're surrounded by Bangladesh, Thailand, which are hotspots in terms of traversing of people all around, and people who have been traveling for the longest time before lockdowns took place or took effect in these other countries. So they said, okay, this is what the government has said.
6th case,
this is what
lockdown.
we will do. 6th case, lockdown. Now there are 23.
Military regimentation.
We are not joking with this thing. You need food? We'll get it for you. Your gate. We're not even talking about going to town. Now here we are complaining, and we're at 184 in Kenya, for example. Nigeria, 282. And we're still saying, okay, let me just go down. I'm coming. Just wait, I'm coming. Let me just go and get something. I'm coming. Do we see?
Military junta. This is what happens. We are now joined by the governor of Laikipia County, Derita Muriithi. Good morning, Bwana Governor.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Adu.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Muga.
Habari kaka?
Niko sawa, habari yako?
Nashukuru sana ndugu. It's nice of you to join us.
Well, I'm happy to do so.
Bwana Governor, we are seeing the measures that are being implemented and instituted by the national government. Before we even go into Laikipia, let's look at the effects or the successes and failures of those measures. Yesterday, we saw the CS for Health, Mutai, telling us, look, there are people who thought of a clever way of beating the curfew, and they thought the best way is to get into an ambulance and go for a party. We are also seeing reports of people who were intercepted somewhere and they were heading towards Embu and Meru. Maybe some of them would have ended up in Laikipia, coming from the coastal region in 4 buses. These measures...
Look, Eric, the world, I mean, did you not see the case of the minister in Scotland who had to resign because she was flaunting the same rules? So I think, dubiousness is in high supply in humanity. Yeah. I think so, because all around the world, you're seeing people in position, ordinary citizens who, for some reason, believe that it is better to try and beat systems. And I tell you, nothing could be further from the truth, because then you just make it easier for yourself or your neighbor or your family member to die from this thing, and it's not necessary.
So with this in place, that's why the past hour, Governor, we were asking people to call in and tell us whether they think that these measures are enough or whether we need to have more stringent measures being put in place by the government going into a full lockdown.
Look, Eric, I am with those who are arguing for even stricter, lockdown. For the simple reason that this virus cannot move by itself. It really cannot move by itself. It only moves because we as human beings move.
Yep.
Now, and you see, even 100 years ago, Spanish flu, 1918, 1919, just look at the old videos from what happened. And it was propagated because people moved.
Yes.
So personally, I have been one of those who've been calling for stricter lockdown. That is why in my own county, I started, screening people passing through or coming into county about almost 4 weeks ago. And massively, we haven't actually had a case.
So when you put in those measures, and you're saying that everybody who's getting into Laikipia County via road is going to get screened.
Via road. In fact, the way we did it, Nanyuki Sivo, for instance. So we put the roadblock just after the airstrip, so that even if you came by air, we would still try to get to you. Of course, they are private airfields, and I'm sure a few people may have come through in that manner.
Governor Murithi, just looking at what we feel, you can tell us the details about Laikipia specifically, but the whole country, it just seems that individuals, the people, like as you mentioned a few moments ago, the virus doesn't move on its own, people do. However, the main proponents don't seem to be grasping this idea. We have reasons and, opinions about why we can't. How are we going to get over this thing? People are saying still that we hear this over and over. There are many reasons why we shouldn't be contained.
I think we'll do this. There is a give and take. As a governor, I have to accept that many people who live in an urban setting, in Nanyuki, in Nyahururu, in many of my smaller towns, they put food on the table on the basis of what they were doing that particular day. So because I need them to stay at home, then I need to help them along with food. And I had you talking about Minamar, and what government is doing that. Yeah. So we for instance, in Laikipia, we are looking at 40,000 households that we will provide food for a 2-month period. Now, I know Muga was saying, look, we have resources, and in some ways we actually do have resources. And I think that I would agree with him. Why do we need to import maize? Because food is not just maize.
Yep.
Yeah, food is not just maize. Food is sweet potatoes. It is arrowroot. It's cassava. It is, I don't know the English name for it, but it's managu. Which is usuga, I think it's called in Western Kenya. It's a fantastic local vegetable.
Yep.
So food is not just maize, and we shouldn't look at it like that. So in our care park, we put in vegetables, cabbage, sukuma wiki, stuff that is grown locally. And we are using same local distribution network. So we don't want you to go to the chief's camp as is usually a sort of quite useless way of distributing food. What we're doing, yeah, absolutely. What we're doing is that we know the households. So, Eric Latif, in Sipili or Romuruti, and we send you an electronic voucher. And if you don't have a smartphone, it doesn't matter, because then we send you an electronic voucher and a USSD code. Now, you will go to that neighborhood duka, so that, and we then redeem that coupon by paying that person, and there is, unga, cabbage, cooking oil, sanitary towel, soap, bar soap, like that, onion, so that it.
So the coupon is distributed to the shops.
No, the coupon is to you.
All right. Okay. Yeah, the coupon is to the person.
It's the person.
But the care park, the park is at the shop.
Yes. Now, and we are trying to push that even further. That, can we get it to your doorstep so that even you don't have to get out to go anywhere? You just stay at home.
How would you deliver it to each and every doorstep within the county?
It is 40,000 households, so it's about a third of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we've done is to work even now in the main towns like Nyeri and Nanyuki, to work with boda and taxi companies, so that, for instance, in Nanyuki, you don't have to go for grocery shopping. You call taxis and place your order and whatever, and a boda rider or a taxi will bring it to your gate, and that is that.
Right. So let's talk about this care pack that's being to be distributed initially through the shop network. How is that going to happen?
Well, the way it has happened, the way we are doing it is that millers, wholesalers, supermarkets, then the neighborhood duka, and in terms of verifying, the way we have verified these 40,000 households is, data that we gathered because we're doing, and we're going door to door, getting people to subscribe to NHIF.
Right.
So that, so we have 40,000 verified, and the way we've done it is that the dealers, the larger groceries, the supermarkets, put together the care package, or the aggregated care package. So if you go to Sipiri, or a small town, I don't know where you know in Laikipia, but if you go to a small place, say with 300-400 people, we then are taking the care pack to the 2 or 3 shops in that hamlet.
Okay.
And the certain supermarkets, then we have given them territory that, look, in this Vasco area, you are the one taking to these 16 or 17 dukas. And so the citizen doesn't have to go too far to try and get that. Now, the big issue, of course, has been to verify, because we don't quite have enough resource to give food to the 140 or so households. We can only manage to deal with about 40,000 of the most needy.
So those 40,000, how do you classify them? I mean, what's the criteria?
It's about income, Eric. But as I said, when we were doing NHIF or health insurance, we went to about 98% of all the households. We physically went to your household, we talked to you, and we collected socioeconomic data.
Right.
Like how many goats do you have? Do you have chickens? Do you have a fridge? Do you have, a motorbike or a car? And the idea, Eric, is that, like, say you or me, we are not going to subsidize you, but your neighbor who only has 1 chicken, then we need to secure her.
Right. So this is data that you already had even before this.
This is data that we already had, and it came in handy. Yeah.
So, Governor, then it's possible to use, we talked about the structures that already exist, and if we can now use the example of Laikipia and extrapolate to the rest of the country, then it is possible, because the fear has been that if we do go into lockdown, for example, which we've seen at some point may be absolutely necessary, even now, then it is possible for counties around the country to be able to take care of the less fortunate then who are not able to put food on the table as because of the fact that they depend on a hand-to-mouth kind of structure. So it is possible then to do this around the country, even if we go county by county.
And I want to try and persuade you, we really actually need lockdown now. Because you see, the disease will only accelerate. and we, people have already died from this disease. So, we need lockdown now.
We need it now.
No, we just come out. We need it now.
We need it now.
And
So
we
now,
have-
if we,
we
sorry,
need
I
it
have to,
now.
just
And
to
we have
interrupt before
data
you go to
from the
that
census.
answer, Governor, is that if we are all saying that if a number of people are saying we need a lockdown now, and you as a leader, as a county leader, is saying that I have been able to do this in my county to make sure that the less fortunate, those who have to depend on hand to mouth, can be taken care of. And if every other governor is able to do that at whatever degree, then people will be taken care of to a certain point. So that fear then should be removed.
There's an assurance.
There's an assurance that we can take care of people, so we can go into lockdown then without that fear. Because we're not looking at a national approach to this, but we're going as an umbrella approach, but county by county, every county leader doing something, then it's possible for us to then say people are taken care of. Let's lock down this thing.
Look, the national and county governments have to work together.
Absolutely.
First of all, across the nation, we have census data. And the census data is household data.
Yes.
I mean, we went to home after home.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have a very clear idea. This is Odu's home. There are 5 people who live there. This is her number.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not rocket science at all.
There you go.
Now, we know that national government is also modeling. They've been asking for data from their county commissioners and so on. Oh, how many poor people have this, how many that. But unfortunately, national government has not been quite clear. But it does seem to me, observing what the kind of things they're asking for, that they're interested in, and I think a number of decision makers understand.
Yeah.
Part of the reason, particularly people in urban settings, big or small centers, the reason people are struggling with social distance is this idea that, look, if I don't go out to hustle, then my family is not going to eat.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we need to deal with in order to allow people to have a realistic chance of staying at home.
Governor, something you said which I didn't quite get about the national government asking for data. Are they asking for an update? Are they asking for a half-yearly update, a yearly update of the data? Or are they saying that there's some data they don't have? Because I find this difficult to believe.
Well, I think it is, change is not easy. So what is happening, we have this committee, county and national government, whatever. And when you look at the data that the county commissioner and the DCCs are being asked to send to office of the president, it is about, how many poor people in which location.
Yep.
And frankly, I just say it on air because I have said it to Kivisho, I've said it to Matiang'i. I mean, why are you asking that? The data you already have.
You collected it in August.
Yes, so you just ask exactly what. Yeah, you already have.
It was it was a nationwide campaign.
Yes, and you collect it in tablets. You and we don't want to go back there, Eric, about servers and other things.
Yeah.
But you have the data.
And
you honestly have the data, and you know my name, and you know my phone number,
and where I live,
and your economic status is also known.
Yeah. So stop asking an administrator, because the administrator is going to create his own data.
Yep, of course.
For his own purpose.
And this is where the fears are. Some of the people who've called in this morning are expressing that fear that if you now go back and say we are distributing food afresh and using the administration networks, then corruption creeps in, because we've seen it happen before.
It will. And Eric, I think frankly we all know it. When you see, whenever you introduce discretion, then you introduce the possibility of corruption.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and it is not necessary, honestly. And also, if you distribute food the way we've done it traditionally, that, 500 people gather in a kid's camp and we distribute maize.
To scramble for a bag of maize.
Then you distribute the disease.
Yes.
So we cannot possibly go in that direction. And I honestly hope we will persuade Matiani and his colleagues that we cannot do it like that.
Things have got to be done differently.
It has to be done differently. Otherwise, you just make it easy for the disease to spread.
Governor, let's talk about the kind of assistance that you've roped in from, let's say, the private sector. Are you working in the private sector in Laikipia County to help in resource mobilization?
Yes, we are. We have a Laikipia only committee led by James Moria, the CEO of Centam.
Yes.
And Michael Dyer from Borana Ranch and so on. So they're absolutely, and we have supermarkets, big farms like AA growers who are big growers of vegetables and so on, already putting contributing in cash but also in kind.
Yeah.
Like AA growers giving us actual food so that we are not going to go and buy vegetables from another place. So green grams, beans, and so on. That I have already. So the answer is yes. I'm sorry. The answer is yes, and we in fact have put out an appeal to other private companies. Interestingly, including Laikipians who are not always resident in Laikipia.
Yeah.
Like the CEO of Harley Davidson, the motorbike company in the U.S. Who is a part-time resident of Laikipia, and who,
You had to drop names, right?
Yeah. In fact, I like that.
Oh, come on. I'm trying to explain. Wait and come to my rescue.
It's good to hear that, you're getting support from Laikipians, even in the diaspora.
Even in diaspora.
And the diaspora, of course, includes the Nairobi Metropolitan, which is now, you require a special permit to cross into.
Look, Eric, please stay in Nairobi.
Where are you, Governor?
To travel. I'm in Nanyuki myself.
Okay.
Governor, is there anything that the Council of Governors has put together that can be said to be a uniform proposal for all the counties within the country?
Oh, many things. For instance, after many months of haggling, not because of COVID, because of UHC, we ultimately came to agreement about how to support counties in increasing the number of medical staff. And that is already ongoing across all counties. Some bureaucratic back and forth, but ultimately now it is progressing. When the national government, so for example, also distribution of sanitizers and things like that, the national government, had the Kenya Pipeline Company process, and then gave it to COG to pass along. And as said, all counties have one level or other of support to needy households. And our effort at the moment is to persuade the national government that let us have something that is uniform so that we reduce the traditional problems that come about in food distribution.
Why do you need to persuade the national government to do this? I mean, it should be obvious, shouldn't it?
Look, I think that, as I said, change is not always an easy thing. People, decision makers, bureaucrats, technocrats, politicians, it is so easy to go to what you know as opposed to what really can work right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the traditional of distributing food that, mkunye kwa chief, Jumamosi, it cannot work.
Upimiwe gorogoro tatu kila mtu.
Kila mtu, that cannot work.
Let's talk about the healthcare system and the preparedness for Laikipia County.
Indeed.
What's your bed capacity? What do you have planned?
Well, first, I think I want to start off with a disclaimer, Eric, which is that there is no system in the world that has been able to cope with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever bed capacity we have, it is not enough if this disease takes off, which is why the preventive measures are actually most important. Having said that, we have across the county, we have 11 different facilities, meaning hospital type facilities, where we can treat up 60 people at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those are people requiring hospitalization, but not critical care, because critical care is when people have to go to the ICU bed.
Yeah.
And frankly, around the world, that's what is the problem.
Yeah.
In part, right now, we can take care of 33 in critical care, of which 10 of those 33 are ICU beds, where then you can get a ventilator, which is the critical component in this particular disease. So it is nowhere near enough, Eric. If this disease takes off, we are
You're going to be overwhelmed.
We are going to be overwhelmed. The KDF also has put together a 65-bed isolation. Again, in those facilities, there is no ventilator.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you are sick requiring hospitalization, yes, that will help. If you are critically sick, meaning you need a ventilator, we can only deal with no more than 15 at a time. And the thing is, you get on the ventilator, you're in ICU for, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, 10 days,
Yeah.
and somebody else is waiting, and that's why people are dying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the solution really we need to persuade Kenyans, because this virus cannot move on its own. It actually only moves when human beings move. So we must accept lockdown for 2-3 weeks,
Yeah.
where we really are not moving. And the way like Nairobians are trying to sneak into their rural areas, I mean, that is just
It's ridiculous at best, no?
it's completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there is no reason why this is absolutely the time to go and visit your grandmother. Wait for Christmas. Why are you going now?
So indeed. Governor Derito Mureithi, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Well, it's my pleasure, Eric.
And congratulations. Good work that you're doing, putting in place all those measures that you have. And we wish you all the best during this next coming few weeks and months.
Thank you very much. Can I just make one point about masks?
Yes.
Wear a mask of whatever kind. Now, if to be honest, say woven material is not going to give you 100%. In fact, there is no mask that gives you 100% protection.
Yep.
But even a piece of cloth that gives you 100% protection is still better than nothing. To wear a mask of whatever kind. If you can find a surgical mask, then you will have, 60-70% protection. If you can find this, N95 type mask, then you will get 90-95% protection. So wear a mask of whatever kind
you get.
Do something
that you can find. Okay.
Thank you very much, Governor.
Thank you
Have
very
a good
much,
day.
Governor.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Asante. 8:30. This is a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Shortly, we'll also be speaking to somebody else, Director of Sustainable Inclusive Business in Kenya, Karine Brunsma. Good morning.
Okay, mostly cloudy.
Online,
conditions in Nairobi
mobile.
today. We're at about 17 degrees. It's likely to go to a high of 26 and lows of 16. In Nyeri this morning, it's mostly cloudy at 18 degrees. Partly cloudy conditions to follow. Highs of 24 and lows of 16. Taking a look then into Nakuru, and Nakuru is partly cloudy this morning at 17 degrees. Showers expected in the afternoon. Highs of 27 and lows of 14. Looking into Eldoret at 17 degrees. Partly cloudy conditions. Highs of 26 and lows of 13. Kisumu this morning is mostly cloudy now, coming off of a bout of rain. 22 degrees. Showers expected to come back in the afternoon. Highs of 29 and lows of 21. Still raining in Mombasa in some parts, but partly cloudy. Rains to come back in the afternoon with highs of 32 and lows of 27. Malindi at 28 degrees is partly cloudy. Going to carry on this way the rest of the day. Highs of 32 and lows of 27. Then into Kampala, where the rains have started coming down now at 22 degrees. Highs of 27 and lows of 21. Rain likely to carry in through most of the weekend. In Dar es Salaam, it's partly cloudy at 27 degrees. Weekend rain starting this afternoon. Highs of 31 and lows of 25. Johannesburg this morning is mostly cloudy at 12 degrees. Highs of 20 and lows of 11. Partly cloudy conditions to follow later. And wrap things up in Lagos this morning with 27 degrees. It's clear skies. Showers expected though later on with highs of 34 and lows of 26. Looking good, guys. Somebody's asking, how is Wayaki Way from Church Road to Westlands? There's no traffic, folks. I think you'd actually be able to get there in record time this morning. Please be careful, though. Parts of the city, a bit of a shower that we saw, so that means roads will be slippery today. Temptation is to move a little bit faster because there are less people on the roads, but please, you don't want to spend your Easter, and as it is, we have hospitals taking care of many issues right now, so please be very, very careful where it is that you are. Spice FM KE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter. Let's know what you see, but you should be okay. Actually, well into Tuesday, you shouldn't have problems with traffic.
Spice and everything nice. Alright, okay. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
This is the situation. Kenya's biggest conversation in the room. We have Eric Latif, CT Muga, and Nduoko, broadcasting on Spice FM, Nairobi 94.4, Mombasa 87.9, 102.5 in Kisumu, Nakuru 96.0, Eldoret 96.7, 90.9 in Nyeri, 97.7 in Malindi. We live stream the show to the world as well on www.spicefm.co.ke. You can watch our show because we've got cameras in the studio. This is the only radio station in the Republic and also actually in the region that has got full 24-hour audio-visual experience. Watch us on Spice FM KE, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Let's talk about the impact that COVID-19 is having on business. Not just business around the world, business in Kenya specifically. And joining us now on the line is the Director of Sustainable Inclusive Business in Kenya, Karen Bonesma. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
So first, tell us about your organization, Sustainable Inclusive Business in Kenya. What's that all about? SIB Kenya.
What's that all about? Yes, it's actually all about running your business in a future-proof manner. So we say that should be sustainable and inclusive, and basically it means with a positive impact on people and planet. So anything you do, you have the responsibility to cause no negative impact on the people around you and on the environment. So that's how we raise awareness around that, and we also support businesses to become more future-proof.
Okay. What impact has COVID-19 had on business in Kenya so far?
Yeah, a lot actually. The whole tourism and hospitality industry is flat, which is really a problem because it's a lot of people have lots of employees. So, like for instance, a travel agency and 200 people, then there's no business and everyone is at home. So it has really big impact also on aviation, obviously, automotive industry, manufacturing, partly, education. We're all at home. So it has a really big impact.
Have you been able to work out the numbers so far, the number of staff that have been affected, businesses that have been affected directly, like closing down and shutting down, the number of workers that have been impacted by this, and also maybe that in numbers, figures in terms of money lost?
Yeah, I have to say I don't know the actual figures here in Kenya. We're also quite in the beginning of, and maybe it's not only the beginning, hopefully it's not going to peak, but we're not there yet. But if you look at the US at the moment, I mean, 17 million people have filed for unemployment.
Yeah.
So that's really big. And I think at the moment in Kenya, a lot of people and employees are still on paid leave if they are not able to go to work. Mm-hmm. So I can't share the real numbers at the moment yet.
Okay, but is it something that SIB Kenya is working on? For example, just talking to the other member association, you're part of KEPSA, talking to the other private sector organizations and getting that data, because maybe at some point it may be important to give it to the government and say this number of people would require assistance because companies that had employed them are no longer able to sustain paying them.
Yes, and that's what KEPSA is doing exactly, and that's our mother organization. We're hosted by them. So especially when it boils down to policies and what the government can do collectively with the private sector, KEPSA is on top of that. We provide more practical support. So KEPSA is already, I mean, the whole VAT issue, where they bring the VAT down, where you can, the new rules actually how to deal with employees you can't pay anymore. They are on top of that, so I'm sure that they will soon, as soon as they have it, they will provide the numbers to the government because they have daily meetings with the government because it's crucial. I mean, Kenya is driving on private sector for 80%, so it's a very important part of our economy. What we do, we will after Easter we will have a platform set up where businesses can, although they might face really challenging times, they might have things they don't use at the moment, or they can share, or they can contribute to overcome this crisis and to partner up. So we were setting up a business community to partner up amongst each other. Because, for instance, what is already happening is that the East African breweries will use their alcohol to produce sanitizers. Yeah. L'Oreal is doing the same. But we also see on small and medium enterprises and startups that facing issues. We have issues with, for instance, farmers that can't get rid of their produce and they can't sell the produce. So we try to also really encourage people to buy locally and to stay within, the small local economies to keep them going, because then you actually invest and make sure that everyone still runs. So we said there's another organization, a farm actually, that buys from the really affected farms that can't find the market. There's another company will buy that, There's another company that said, I can't drive around for my business anymore, but I can still drive around to provide food, and they will give it to allocated organizations. So there's a lot of good things happening as well, and businesses are really being used as a force for good. And I think that should be always the case.
But as I think of that, I'm thinking of the flower industry. They are no longer exporting the flowers. The flowers are still growing in the farms. But, I mean, people are not going to spend money to buy flowers as opposed to buying food. So what are those ones doing?
Yeah, no, it's really sad. I mean, I'm Dutch, so we have the biggest, the whole auction is closed in the Netherlands as well. So it all goes to waste. And what you hope is that there's a little bit being given away. So that's what you see a lot, that people are now giving things away for free, whether it's services or products. But there's also a lot going to waste, and the only thing you can do with that type of waste is converting it into manure to create compost out of it. So you make new soil.
Karen, we hear from different companies seem to be doing many different things. You know, companies who would otherwise use their alcohol or ethanol for their own products, now channeling that. Is there a carte blanche on how companies will use, or is there some kind of coming together of people to say, because like you said, the needs in different places are different. Now, not everybody needs sanitizer. Not everybody needs masks. Not everybody needs a certain kind of thing. Is there coming together to agree that, all right, since you have the capacity to do one thing, let's give you this to do? It seems that it would make a little bit more sense if people came together and then duties were assigned, as it were, as per needs.
Yeah, I think on the elements like a mask, for instance, what also the governor is promoting, that's definitely not the case, because you can sell or make or distribute or give any type of masks nowadays, so everyone can make that. So there's not really a get together. I think like on the medical equipment, for instance, and testing, that's all channeled through the government. So the government will assign companies and institutes to work on that and to make sure that it's being distributed to the right people and institutes. So that, yes. But this is also why we want to set up the platform, because we see exactly what you said. There's also a risk in charity. There's a risk in trying to be good, and then you leave, and then it doesn't end up at the right place. And we saw it already, I think last week, where food trucks come and they just randomly start sharing food. And I mean, it's very nice giving, but you pile up people. So in terms of social distancing, this is really bad. Yeah. So it's against all the rules. And secondly, it's very random. So you might leave out people who need it most. And it was really done just before the curfew hour. So it also causes a lot of tension, because if you do that an hour before curfew, then you actually bring people in trouble. So that's why we want to set up the platform, so that we really know, okay, this is what's needed, this is what I can offer. So it will be a share and need platform, and it will be very transparent, because then you can see what's going on and where's the biggest need.
There are other stories, other issues that emerge. Already we had seen some measures in place. For instance, the ban on use of plastics in the country. Thinking about future-proofing businesses, do you see COVID-19 maybe reversing some of those gains?
I hope not. I hope not, but because we try to, I think what the COVID-19 highlights, but people need to be ready for it. There's nothing else we talk about but COVID-19. So there's no space for anything else. Yeah. However, you see even a Bill Gates will address in his 15 points, like lessons learned out of the COVID-19, and he already predicted it, that this is a really big corrector. Yeah. I mean, if once this is over and we have this under control, once there's a vaccine and there's a medication for once you get it, I really hope, and I do believe that businesses and people in general know that we are all part of this world. We are all connected with nature. What we do and how we do and how we treat each other and the earth, it's all going to impact us sooner or later. Yeah. So I think the whole discussions around environment and also plastics, and just the responsibility, because what we do is actually coming from corporate social responsibility, sort of corporate social responsibility 2.0.
Yeah.
It's like, really, who is responsible? I mean, plastic is a great product, but if we don't manage it, why do we feel entitled to use the good qualities of it, but we don't feel responsible for the negative impact? Why do we throw it away? Why do we not design it in a different way?
Yeah.
So I truly hope that doesn't change. Clearly, the focus is not on that now. And the question is also, we have a lot of disposables at the moment because of a disease, because of hygiene. So actually, there will be an increase in plastic little containers for your sanitizers, masks, all those kind of things. Will end up at the landfill again.
Okay, so I mean, this is we always say all of this is going to end. At some point, it will end. We don't know when, but nothing lasts forever. If you forecast or project, are you seeing a more vibrant business atmosphere situation in the country, or even around the world?
I'm a very optimistic person, so yes, I do. Because I think it will be an eye opener, and to be honest, the corona is not going away. We will have it's like an influenza, probably coming back in a different way, shape, and form. And once they have a vaccine, you will have to add every year a new ingredient to the vaccine, as a flu vaccine we have. So I don't think those things go away. I think also people realize that if we don't change our lifestyle and how we feel responsible, there will be something else. Even if it does go away, there will be something else. So closing, for instance, the wildlife market, the wet markets in China, there's a big push. Implementing is a second thing, but I really hope that there's much more force behind it from all different levels. It's really important that even the Pope of the Vatican is very outspoken about those issues, that Bill Gates, I mean, those people, when I say it, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But when they say it, it hopefully matters. And you see that, luckily. So whether you're big or small, people are going to go with the same narrative. So I think it will be better, but better in a different way, because I don't think that this economy, the model we're having now currently, and the capitalism it will show us how vulnerable we are, because everything is depending on money. It's only money. It's not about a system in place that I'm depending on you, for instance. Not on money, but I'm depending on you. Or yes, so even if you have as a business a bigger market where sanitizing is always part of your business. If you're a mining company, restoring landscapes is actually as much of your business DNA as mining itself. If those things go hand in hand, you're so much less vulnerable. So what we are talking about then is that you might make less money. I don't believe in ultimate growth. There's nothing growing eternally, nothing. If you look around you in the world, there's nothing. So I believe in thriving instead of growing.
Right.
And if you have thriving models, you're way more resilient. And for instance, the circular economy model really promotes that, and it includes everyone and everything. And you use resources like once. You make what you want. You have a really long lifespan of products. You don't have waste, so you don't go to waste. In the end, you recycle, becomes an input again.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you reuse, you remanufacture, and that all creates jobs. And it is also very good to actually boost local economies. And once you have that, you see it now, we're so depending on imports and things we import, we don't need to import. In Kenya, we dig sand, we sell sand, we export sand, and we import glass. Why? Really, why?
Good points. Karin Boomsma, would like to thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. Director of SIB Kenya, that's a Sustainable Inclusive Business in Kenya. And wish you all the best. Stay safe.
Thank you very much. Likewise. Thank you.
Asante sana. The Situation Room at 10 minutes to 9.
Online online, mobile, and on radio. Instagram at Spice FM KE. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Spice FM. Nyeri.
The discussion and the conversation this morning.
Mature.
COVID-19, Kenya's preparedness, the government's measures, and the people's response to those measures. Well, the call that we're having, the governor of Laikipia says, look, it's pretty obvious. This thing, it's moved by people. Mm-hmm. And if we continue having measures that are not being obeyed by people, then it's best if we just go there to institute the more extreme measures.
Mm-hmm. Lock this thing down. I mean, that's the thing.
Tell people to stay home. Laikipia is ready to feed people. We've talked to 3 governors so far. Mombasa is ready. Kwale is ready. Laikipia is ready. Others have also told us that they're ready. What is it that we're waiting for? We already have a fund in place. It's already collecting money. The former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has already started mobilizing. He's been able to do that. These things are already in place.
Civil society is already collecting quite a lot.
Civil society is collecting and distributing.
And distributing already.
Small individual groups, community groups,
church groups are already
doing their thing.
So now what is it that we want to wait for until we bring all the money together and give it to the government?
What are we waiting for?
No, let's just go into it.
No.
And if we close down, then people more and more, these things will.
But you can't close down without telling people what the plan is.
Yep.
Knowing it and having it is not enough, not in this case.
The problem, by the way, is now the government. If, like what we've heard, the government now is asking administrators to tell them who is poor and who needs food.
Wait, are we even sure the government is asking this question? How did it come up in the first place? The government is asking for information it has.
I think I've actually heard it before.
Yes, I'm saying I've also heard it, but who is asking it now specifically?
Who should be asking for it?
That the government is saying that it's working with its local administration networks, right? Chiefs and county commissioners give us the data of the people that will require to be fed or to be assisted in the event of a lockdown. Why do you need to ask the
why is the government asking for data it has?
It has.
Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, they have all this information.
A government agency.
They gave us booklets.
And then some, my friend.
Just ask them, okay, crunch the numbers and tell us specifically people who earn below this or people who meet this criteria.
Eric, the data that's available on the citizens of this country, we are awash
and it's
with
fresh.
Data. And it's a resource.
It is not 20-year-old data.
No, it's current.
It is very current data. Why is it that, why would we need to be doing a whole of back and forth?
Why can't the government understand that these twists and turns that they're used to in normal times, they're annoying, they're irritating, and they're useless?
And they cannot be employed in times like these.
Myanmar, military. Uganda, general, military. Rwanda, military.
Sierra Leone,
military. This is it, man. Politicians with their...
Let's talk about North Korea for a minute, shall we? Okay.
0 cases.
0 cases in North Korea. And
there was one who died.
Yeah, okay.
Carry on.
He died, and so now they've gone back.
0 living cases.
Living cases. But what have they done? And for them, they said, according to the reports, that quarantine can be likened to prison. So, my friend, they will release you from quarantine. Not that they will allow you to go home from quarantine. They essentially release you from quarantine. The guy said, we are not joking with this thing. And it's not a matter of can I ask a question? No. Not in, not out. That's why they have one case, and that one case no longer.
Unfortunately.
And we know that the virus dies with the person.
There you go.
Gone.
So,
pussyfooting on decisions. And it's all because people are fearing. I mean, what are people going to do? What's going to happen?
What will people say? What will people ask?
And all that is
How will
because
people
I
eat?
do not want to do
what I'm supposed to do.
And again, it's a habit. It's a conditioning. You pussyfoot, you talk around in circles, you delay. This one isn't
not waiting
as usual.
And it's not waiting for you to make a decision. It's not the way you treat us when, how many people are facing starvation around the country. By the time
you make a decision, it will rain.
Meal moves to those people, it's 4 months. People have died. No, they have not died because of hunger. No. They have died because of other things. Look, this is not one of those. They are dead. People are facing starvation constantly in this country. People get relief for like 2 months and then it ends. And those 2 months, the government has taken forever to make a decision to mobilize resources to go and help the people.
Sometimes they even mobilize resources. Then you start wondering where the resources went to.
Yeah.
Because the people who are supposed to receive them inform you they didn't receive them.
The CS was not around. He was out of the country. We need to wait for him to come so that he can take the food.
I think Mutahi Kagwe will realize at some point that he can only beg for so long. Right? He can only plead and say the other thing.
That some point needs to be today.
As in, at some point, it needs to be.
It ought to have been yesterday.
It cannot beg anymore. It should have been at this. We say, look, you know what? The only way we're going to be able to contain this thing is to stop movement.
Last week, we were below 100. We are approaching 200.
We're 6 shy of 200.
We're
6 shy of 200.
16.
It's not a joke. 184, 16 shy of 200. Yeah. Look, 2:30 to 4 o'clock this afternoon, it will have more cases. Yeah. By the time the weekend rolls around, there will be more cases. It's not a matter of don't be a doomsday conspirator or say there could be more. We ask.
Or there will be more.
There will be more. Based on what we've seen, there will be more.
There will be more.
In the next week or so, we will get to the 300. I said Myanmar has 23 cases. They said, thank you. We're not doing again. Close it.
Can you tell us about this village and how this village can help to bring up Mutahi Kagwe?
I think Mutahi Kagwe is really doing the best he can under these circumstances. There's no question about it. It takes a village to raise a child. Now, the village is speaking. The child here is actually the country. This is the odd thing. This is rare cases where, and yes, there are things we have said and there are things we're saying even today. Why is this opportunity for change not being taken advantage of? The government has an opportunity to enforce what it wants to do. If it enforces it, people will fall in line and do it.
Anyway, this is a Situation Room. Good morning. Happy Good Friday. It's 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice
All right,
FM.
So like you said, Eric, there's no traffic. Mombasa Road looking good. This is not the time, however, to ride down or bike ride Mombasa Road. It's not going to happen. Sorry. Spice FM KE is how you can let us know if there's something that you see. But most people are at home today, so traffic situations are not one to be worried about.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a
So
man
looking
who
at the status
believes
of our
in
healthcare
punching up,
system and
not down.
all and our capacity, both private and public, we spoke to Governor Joho of Mombasa, and he was telling us they're working with the private sector, the private hospitals, to work together on how to increase their capacity. Same thing we've been told by Kwale. Same thing we've heard even Mutahi Kagwe saying, calling on the private sector, the private hospitals to come together and improve and increase their capacity. We saw yesterday, going around in social media, it was even covered in the news, that the Aga Khan University Hospital has expanded its capacity. They're putting up a 100-bed capacity at the Aga Khan Sports Center. And then that will be able to cater for more people. I think they already have 300-bed capacity at the Aga Khan complex itself. Joining us on the line now is the ER Dr. Benjamin Washira. He is from the Aga Khan University Hospital. He's an emergency medicine physician. Good morning, Dr. Hari.
Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Hari, here you're joining Ndu and CT Muga as well.
Good morning, Dr. Hari.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Tell us about what we were seeing in the news yesterday, Aga Khan expanding its capacity. What is that?
So the main thing as the pandemic rolls out, as Aga Khan, we've realized that the pandemic does not selectively pick up private or public hospitals. So as the pandemic expands across the country, as an institution would be potentially at the center of it all. So we decided to look at our capacity, see how best we can prepare our emergency and critical care services to receive multiple patients simultaneously, but also expand the hospital capacity by an extra 100 beds to ensure that we are able to provide quality care for as many people as we can potentially handle at the institution.
Would you be taking in mild cases, or are you looking at taking in the more serious cases, Dr. Hari, with this specific virus?
Okay, so as an institution, we've really capitalized on our emergency and critical care services, and we believe this is what we potentially can offer best across the country. So for mild cases, we potentially would refer them to other facilities that we work alongside, but more looking at how best we can handle the moderately severe and critically ill patients, because these are the ones who are dying, and based on the expertise of the institution, I think we are best placed to provide this care for Kenyans.
What would be severe? What stage would somebody be classified as a severe case?
So the common one that is currently coming through is shortness of breath. So someone who is not able to maintain their own breathing patterns and not able to get enough oxygen in their system. So that's a starting point. And this can quickly deteriorate to the point where you stop breathing completely, in which case then we need to put you on a machine to help you breathe, which is what was also demonstrated by the critical care team at the hospital yesterday.
So now with this, with the new center that comes into play, and those that you'll be receiving who are in this critical care, the issue of cost for many people then comes into play. How would people be able to afford this?
Well, the cost would be our regular cost for healthcare within the hospital. It's not that we're going to add cost to it. And of course, it's expected, being a pandemic and a national response, and I'm sure the government would be able to support such initiatives.
We saw the other day the CS for Health, Mutahi Kagwe, urging the private hospitals, please stop hiking your fees for especially the consumables.
Yeah, for us, we've not hiked any fees as such. It's just the regular care we get. And even as long with the government's mandate for providing emergency care, we are still, what can I say, mandated by the law to provide emergency care services to anyone who shows up at the hospital. So this you will get, and it's not really necessarily a matter of cost. We are obliged by the law to stabilize you. And then after that, then potentially look at now whether you can afford to come into the institution or be transferred to a facility of your choice. But emergency care services we will receive.
So, Dr. Hari, good morning.
Good morning.
What you're describing, is it something that is only specific to this period of COVID-19, or is it something that the hospital has been participating in the past?
This has always been the policy of the hospital, especially for emergency care services. This has always been standard. We've worked very hard to improve the emergency department, ensure we have trained staff. We started training programs at the emergency department to make sure that all the staff there working there have the necessary skills and resources to provide quality emergency care at the word go. So, and since the constitution changed, I think around some time back, obliging us to provide emergency care regardless of ability to pay. So this has always been the policy at the hospital. So for us, emergency care first, then we'll worry about the other things after.
What kind of medical conditions would qualify as being emergency?
So trauma, the common one we'll see is trauma, where you've been in an accident somewhere, or you've been hit by a vehicle. We do get a lot of heart attacks and strokes coming into the hospital. So these are the three main ones we see. But we also do get these infectious diseases. So the other infectious diseases, not just COVID, who come in and they need a bit of resuscitative care in the department. So we normally will provide this upfront. And if, for example, you're not able to afford the admission cost and that, then we liaise with other hospitals and based on the patient's preference, transfer you to a facility of your choice. But in some instances, especially where you're too unstable for us to let you be transferred, then in that case, we have a welfare program in the hospital where you get admitted because we would not want to be in a situation where we transfer you and you die en route to that other hospital. So a lot of decision is made. If we are not comfortable transferring you out, then we'll have to admit you, and this is covered under the welfare program.
So coming back to COVID-19, Dr. and the new facility that you have, I'm assuming that you still have capacity in the hospital itself?
Yes. So the hospital, remember, just because COVID started does not mean we don't have regular patients coming through. So yes, we do still have capacity, but also we are trying to look at a situation where we'll have a lot of COVID patients and still have to deal with the regular patients. So within the hospital, there's still a lot of capacity, but in the event that we have extra patients, then we will open up different hospitals to then operate from there too.
And what's the admission procedure for somebody with COVID-19?
Well, when you come to the department, initially at the door from the triage section, you will quickly be assessed by a doctor and a nurse. And a quick couple of questions will be asked about history of cough, fever, passport. Travel is no longer really, it's been a couple of weeks since the ban. So if the healthcare provider suspects that you may be showing symptoms of COVID, then you automatically be isolated into a different section of the emergency department and care initiated from that perspective. So we do, even from the emergency department perspective, we do separate patients from the ward go, where if we suspect that you may be COVID positive or have been in a situation where you've been exposed to COVID, then we separate you into your care is separated up until you get your test results to see whether it's COVID positive or negative. Yes, so that the care of the two patients is separated to ensure there's no cross-contamination to our regular patients.
I see. What's your staff capacity in terms of doctors, nurses, and the rest?
Oh, yes. I think there are 1,000 staff in our hospital. So we have the staff that's currently within the university hospital, but as you also know, we have satellite clinics that have opened up across the country. So this is also staff that is accessible to us if we do need to expand our capacity for healthcare providers in the hospital. Actual numbers, not very sure.
Okay.
Looking at one of the major things that we looked at was counseling, whether it be for patients or whether that be for healthcare workers. Do you have something like that set up now within this facility, or even, with the hospital as things were?
Yes, actually, our counseling services have been quite busy from the word go, and a lot of this was actually even initially for the healthcare workers, just to bring up their mindset to the reality of the situation on the ground, because there's a lot of anxiety, not even just from the public, but also from healthcare workers. So our counseling services have been working hard with our teams on the ground to ensure that the mental how can I say, the people are comfortable to start looking after these patients, and but also so there is support services for the public, and the hotline number also that was established at the institution is to help people get information, but also to direct those who may need counseling services to our counseling team.
Tell us about that hotline number. What's the number and what does it do?
So the hotline number was established from the word go, and the idea, there is a trained healthcare professional at the other end of the line, and their job is to answer any questions, allay any anxiety, provide factual information to the public, and 24/7, and lots of calls have been coming through. The number itself is 0709 931 700.
0709 931 700.
Yes.
Around the world, Dr. You've seen many cases where people are saying home-based care also works for mild cases.
Well, yes. You see, COVID is a virus, and not everyone, majority of the patients who get it, will have mild symptoms, flu-like symptoms, and not necessarily need any hospitalization, not necessarily need to be admitted in any hospital. And our hospital capacities, even across the world, do not have the capacity to isolate everyone with mild symptoms, because then you would quickly overrun your healthcare services with patients who don't really need much in terms of care within the hospital. So that's why the recommendation for self-quarantine, stay at home, and only if and when you do develop symptoms that, especially shortness of breath and feeling weak and things like that, then come to hospital. So then we maintain the hospital to provide active treatment to these patients, while the milder cases can then just stay at home, hydrate, eat well, and be ready. Also, of course, you will need a service, and that's why countries that have good emergency medical services, ambulance services, they know. So you can stay at home, and in case of things are not going well, call an ambulance. So those are some of the things that we need to look into as a country also.
So how would we do this now for us in Kenya? Yesterday we spoke to somebody who's in Rome, Italy, and they were telling us that when you present yourself with symptoms, you call an emergency number, they listen to you, and then they either take you through, they say, we are going to monitor you over a couple of hours or a couple of days, and if you get worse, that's the only time that we're going to come and pick you up and take you to a hospital isolation facility. In this country, the way we are right now, so yes, you're giving us the number, and it's a doctor on the other end, but our habits are that you feel sick, you panic, and you want to go to hospital. So how would we handle this?
So I think the government has taken the first step. The 719 toll-free number, and I hope it does continue even after the COVID crisis, because they've actually set up a call center with doctors on the other end of the line. And this one is helping the public call in and provide their symptoms, and the doctors are able to listen and provide advice accordingly in terms of should you go to hospital, should you potentially stay at home a bit, and you can call again the following day and get some advice. So the 719 hotline is a brilliant idea, and I think it's something that we should insist that continues even after the COVID, because a lot of people who actually do go to hospital don't necessarily need to be to hospital. And if there's a toll-free line that is manned 24/7, then they can actually receive proper healthcare information from trained providers to be able to then limit the amount of people going to hospital after that. So now, after the 719, then there's the issue of the ambulance part, and that is what now we'll need to pretty much build the infrastructure around to ensure that we have a coordinated ambulance system that then goes to pick up the critically ill patients. Because a lot of patients can even with a trained provider at the end of the phone, they can say, okay, I think you should go to hospital, and from the assessment, you should be safe to get on a matatu and go to hospital. You should be able to get in your car, go to hospital. But for those critically ill patients, then there's an ambulance system that is then sent to pick up these patients. It's not to develop a system where every person is transported by an ambulance, but for those critically ill patients, putting in the infrastructure. And I know emergency services is part of the UHC program, and as they roll out the UHC program, I hope emergency transportation, I know it was on the UHC panel, I just hope it will be implemented to ensure patients can actually access this service in a timely fashion.
Dr. Benjamin Washira, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning.
Not a problem.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ari.
If you don't mind,
Thank you very
we'll be
much,
calling
everyone.
you also in days to come, just to touch base and know what the Aga Khan Hospital is doing.
Not a problem. Happy to help.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
Shortly, we'll be talking to Dr. Marcy Korir. If you've got any questions to Dr. Marcy Korir, ask Dr. Marcy, 0719-012-600. You can also post your questions on comments or concerns to Facebook, Spice FM KE, at Spice FM KE, at Dr. Marcy Korir. Good morning, 17 minutes after 9.
Classic soul, R&B,
Mostly cloudy
smooth jazz.
conditions in Nairobi at 19 degrees. A chance of rain in the afternoon with highs of 26 and lows of 16. Nyeri today is at 19 degrees as well. It's mostly cloudy right now. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 15. Nakuru at 19 degrees is partly cloudy. Showers expected in the afternoon. Highs of 27 and lows of 14. 18 degrees in Eldoret and highs of 26 and lows of 13 today. Mostly cloudy conditions to ensue through the day. Kisumu at 23 degrees is mostly cloudy. Rain expected in the afternoon with highs of 29 and lows of 21. Mombasa today at mostly cloudy conditions and at 28 degrees, highs of 32 and lows of 27. Malindi is rainy this morning at 26 degrees, highs of 32 and lows of 26. Looking into Kampala, light rain showers being experienced right through the city. Highs of 27 and lows of 21, and the rain likely to carry in to most of the weekend. Dar es Salaam is partly cloudy at 28 degrees. Showers expected in the afternoon with highs of 31 and lows of 25. And in Johannesburg at 13 degrees, it is mostly cloudy. Highs of 20 and lows of 11. Lagos, we see finally this morning at 26 degrees and mostly sunny. Showers to come through in the afternoon with highs of 34 and lows of 26.
And everything nice, everything nice.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
That's 21 after 9. Ask Dr. Marcy, 0719.
Mornings done right. 94.
Concerns to Facebook, Spice FM KE, or YouTube, Spice FM KE, or Twitter, Spice FM KE. You can also tag her directly at Dr. Mercy Korir. Good morning, Dr.
Good morning, Eric.
Good morning,
And good
Dr.
morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mercy.
Good morning, City.
Now,
Happy,
first,
is it Happy Good Friday or Good Friday?
It's just Good Friday.
All right. What would you prefer? Good, better Friday, perhaps?
And today for us, we should have something good to celebrate, right?
I agree with you completely. What did you have in mind?
But I don't know what that is. No, I'm still figuring out what that would be. But we should find at least one thing.
let's celebrate ourselves. Let's celebrate the fact that God has given us this day.
In good health.
In good health, and we can fight. We can take all the measures to avoid contracting COVID-19.
True.
So first of all, Daktari, a number of callers who've called this morning have said, congratulations, Ambia Daktari Asante Sana. She's doing a very good job. The questions that she asks at the daily press briefings, very good stuff. Very good stuff.
Asante Sana. Thank you very much. Yesterday, one of my teachers or mentors was telling me our work is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. So that's what we are doing.
You are afflicting them.
The comfortable.
These press briefings on a daily basis, Dr. Mercy, I've seen in several fora where people get to a point where they're like, was there a briefing today? So what are the new numbers? So it's becoming like the main thrust of the daily press briefings is telling us the rise in numbers. And everything else appears to be like, well, this is coming to tell us the same thing that you told us yesterday. I appeal to you. I urge you to maintain social distance. The government is doing this and the other. We have put in place plans. People are sort of feeling like they, getting to a point of lethargy and feeling,
It's the usual. It's business as usual.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, that's the government's job. But as a media, our work when we are there is not just to write those notes and go and write the papers or do TV stories. It's not to just ask and query and find out, okay, you told us A, B, C, and D the other day. What has happened? This is the thing we are finding on the ground. Like, for example, we asked the doctors, the nurses, all the medics across the country have been complaining that they don't have personal protective equipment. Then as at yesterday, we learned that out of the 179, we have about 12 medics. These are doctors, nurses, clinical officers on the list, 10 of whom got the disease on the job. So the ministry on Tuesday said they will distribute personal protective equipment by the end of this week. But asking, there's nothing like that on the ground. So they have to tell us, are they doing just a PR exercise by telling us we'll do this and this and this? Or what is it that they're planning? Because now, if we're having medics falling sick, who will take care of us?
Yeah.
So just to keep them on track and on their toes, so that they know we are not just asking things for the sake of asking. We're asking because they have direct consequences on some people somewhere who may not have that opportunity to ask these questions or to find out what is happening.
Will it yield some results, Terry, the constant interrogation? I'm a proponent for doing things with consistency to get results. Do you think this would happen in this case?
I think it will, because, okay, one of the most direct examples I can give is, I remember when we were getting numbers, we were just getting so many people have been infected, so many people have died, and that was it, or so many have recovered. But now when we requested that we have a further breakdown of who are these people, what are our age distribution, what is the disease severity, it started coming out, because now with that, you're able to even do your stories, you're able to know who is being affected in the country, and we see our people, not many vulnerable people are being affected as much as the younger population. So the results will be slow and painful in coming, but I think they will come when when the people, the duty bearers, know that we are watching and somebody is holding them accountable. And the beauty is, during those press conferences, it's televised across board at the same time. So we have millions more tuning in on TV and on radio stations. So somebody somewhere is bound to act.
True.
And even if it's one person, somebody is bound to act for the sake of somebody. We know we're in a country where people are not used to being held accountable. But I think this is the opportunity where, as a fourth estate, then
where all these changes. Let's go straight to the questions, Dr. You have Victor calling in from Kericho. Good morning, Victor.
Yes, morning once again, Eric, Ndu, CT, and now Dr. Masi.
Hi, Victor.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, straight to Dr. Masi. First of all, I would like to congratulate her on the commendable job she's been doing on the daily brief, asking proper questions and making us people out here get more enlightened directly from the CS and the CAS at times. So my question is this to Dr. Masi. Is she doing the same great work she's doing in media as in the medicine? Maybe. Sorry, let me restructure the question, please. Now that she's doing a good job in media, and I'm made to understand that she has a medical background.
Yeah.
Does she practice the same medicine blah blah, or she's a full-time media practitioner? Thank you.
Dr. Do you do medicine blah blah?
No. At the moment, my blah blah is theoretic. And that was very interesting for Victor. Anyway, my medicine right now is theoretic. I'm full-time media.
All right.
Because personally, I believe that you should give something your 100% for you to do well in it. So full-time media, the standard group.
Great. So picking the questions on social media.
Right. Okay. So starting off with the first question that we have this morning is that we've seen that we have to wear masks now all the time. Do you see this as a direct... Do you see this then as a direct result on bringing down infections?
Sorry, I missed that. We have to do what?
We've been told now that we have to wear masks at all times. Do you see this as a direct result on infections, on bringing down infections?
Okay. The WHO says that masks do not there's no evidence that a healthy person wearing a mask confers any benefit. And so from the WHO, masks should be worn by somebody who's sick to limit or to minimize transmission of any respiratory droplets to somebody else or to surfaces, or somebody taking care of somebody who's sick, or by healthcare workers. But according to them, masks on the general population do not confer any added advantage. But the Ministry of Health, Kenya, has advised people to wear masks. Why they reached this conclusion, I'm yet to fully understand. But I think it is just one of the many measures they think will work to limit the transmission of the infections. Now, the evidence they say they've seen in other countries, these countries that they have mentioned that have limited their disease transmission, is because they involved or did more with the other public health measures, like the issues of decontamination, contact tracing, testing, and isolation. Those ones have produced more direct results than just mass masking. Because now if you're able to know everyone who has the disease and everyone they have met, and you quarantine them and you isolate those who are positive, then you will have directly minimized your risk of transmission. Two, the other measures that have worked is now the lockdowns, the restrictions of movement, the physical distancing. Those have been shown to directly have an effect. So yes, we can mask, but what is happening behind the masking is what is most important.
Okay.
So if we can isolate everyone we know, we can quarantine everyone we know, then our results will be more direct, and within 2-3 weeks, we will know the true status of the pandemic in the country.
So let's take a short break to look at traffic, and then we come back into this conversation. All the questions coming in now. You're here until the top of the hour today.
Yes.
And so all the questions that you may have for Dr. Mercy Korir, post them on Facebook, Spice FM KE. You can also post them on Twitter at Spice FM KE. Or you can call in 0719 012 600. It's 28 minutes to 10.
All right, looking through the city and, of course, through the country, it doesn't look like much is happening. People are still asleep, and it will take you very few minutes to get where it is that you're going. We are on holiday today, remember, as well as little movement, slight movement within the city anyway. So, guys, not much traffic today. We're looking at open, clear, and free highways around the country. Spice FM KE, just in case anything pops up.
Everything nice. All right. Okay.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, continuing with our questions this morning.
Mornings
Dr.
done.
Mercy. Remember, you can send your questions in on social media and through our lines. But as we continue, Dr. the next question that we have is, from a medical point of view, to stop infections, does a lockdown make sense?
Okay, I'll reiterate what I've been saying about a lockdown. A lockdown makes sense if behind the lockdown you're doing something useful. And what is this something useful? One, you're testing. Okay, first you have traced all contacts for people that are already being tested positive, right? And two, you're testing as many people as possible and as fast as possible. Three, you are isolating those that need to be isolated. Those are now the people who've turned positive, and you're putting on quarantine those who, yes, have made contact, but they are negative. So you just want to put them on quarantine and observe for at least 14 days and see if they develop any symptoms or if anything changes. If you're doing all that, then a quarantine will make sense. A lockdown will make sense, because what it means is you have limited movement, so you're able to trace everyone within that particular zone. But if you're just on lockdown and you're continuing with business as usual, then you will not be able to do much. So for me, I'm yet to get a clear answer from...
A lockdown means that you're not continuing with business as usual. It means there's no movement.
Yes. That is on the socio-economic aspect of it. But on the public health aspect, if you're continuing with business as usual, then that will be a problem. That's what I'm saying. But if you've scaled up to test more and you've put more people on the ground to do contact tracing and isolation and quarantine, then it will make a difference. We are yet to get a very clear answer from the Ministry of Health on what they are doing within this lockdown. But I see that they started with testing all medics, all staff at the quarantine facilities. So for me, that is a step higher than what they were doing before, where they were just concentrating on the people who had been identified already and their contacts. But now if they have increased this I expect them to scale up even higher. 2 is if we get the rapid test kits from Kemri, then we will be able now to even test millions and millions of people, starting with the ones in the designated areas. So for me, that would be a plus. That will be a step further in trying to identify as many people as possible so that you can stem the spread of the disease.
Okay. All right. Then looking at the next question we see now stories about using some kind of medication, especially with Kenya asking questions with collaboration from Japan. Is it possible then that there will be a treatment that can be used to treat symptoms?
Okay. So all these treatments are in their trials. Remember, a drug like the hydroxychloroquine is an antimalarial. This one from Japan, it has a big name that is still giving me a problem. It's for influenza.
Yeah.
So all of these drugs.
Favipiravir.
Yeah.
Or the trade name is Avigan.
Avigan.
I thought Avigan is the company that made it.
It's a trade name.
It's a trade name.
The trade name. Okay, then Avigan would be better. So it is for influenza. So you see, all of these medicines are being used for something else. Even the other one, the lopinavir, ritonavir, is an antiretroviral. So all of these drugs are being tried out to see if it will have any effect on the coronavirus. So all of them are on a trial. WHO did the Solidarity One trial, whereby yesterday we had 74 countries that are signed up and 200 patients were already on trial for all of these drugs. So even the Japanese one, the Avigan, is one of the drugs that now, yesterday, Dr. Amos was telling us they will have as one of the trial drugs to see if it will have any impact on treating coronavirus. So if the researchers, the scientists get enough evidence that any one of these drugs can work, then people will be given. And then the other thing to look at, and I'm sure it's what they're considering, is you see 80% of people with coronavirus have mild symptoms, which do not necessarily need any treatment. So the worry here is the disease progressing to severe illness or critical illness. So the focus might be on looking at what point do we start this drug. Is it at the critical point? Is it at the severe point? Or is it at the mild illness so that you avoid going to the severe point? So all of these things are being considered. And once there's an answer, people will be able to know and know when to take the drug. It may not be for everyone. It may just be for a few. And yeah, we've seen some hope with some of these drugs, like the hydroxychloroquine here locally, that one of the patients who was in critical illness or was critically ill was able to at least improve somehow. So we don't know if it was the hydroxychloroquine itself or it was that plus everything else that was done to help this particular patient. So it is still work in progress.
Okay. Looking at rapid testing, that could be something that we will see, and mass rapid testing that we could see in the country in the next few weeks, depending on what Kemri will be able to tell the public through the government, or Kemri as government also. What would a scenario likely be? Would they come to people's homes? Would people be asked to go somewhere? How would we, because the question is very plainly put, how would we then be able to access this testing?
Interesting. I would think, I actually don't know how they'll do those logistics without breaking the physical distancing.
Right.
Maybe they'll go to every estate and deliver every place and deliver some of these rapid testing kits or the high-risk places. I really don't know how they'll do those logistics, or if they will incorporate the Safaricom agents the way they've done to be able to sort out the supply chain and the logistics. I really don't know what the plan is. because the first part was first to see, can we do this? Will it be accurate in detecting COVID? So I think in terms of logistics, they have many options. Or if they ask people to go to every health facility and pick one or get tested, I actually don't know what they'll do.
Dr.
But
Ali,
I think the logistics part would not be as much a headache as getting an accurate testing kit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Titi, you're saying?
I was saying that all this is good news, prospective news. Rapid testing coming out, maybe some treatment. This is all good news. But this social distancing that we keep talking about, is it not something that everybody can do? And together with the basics of hygiene that we've been talking about, these are things that can be done. If these things are adhered to, all these measures that we keep talking about, much as we may prepare for them, wouldn't it actually get us to a point where we may prepare for it, but we may not need them simply because the number of people who get infected will have been reduced significantly?
Definitely. The bigger chunk of preventing this disease lies on the individuals. Because if you look at washing hands, hygiene in your small space, it lies on the individual. So if everyone does their part, it will be collective good across board, such that the people that will get the disease will be very few. The health system will be able to manage, and that is what we have been striving at, so that as many people as possible do not get the disease. You only get a few, and that means even fewer are critically ill, and therefore the system can manage. That way, you will prolong, or rather, you will flatten your curve. You will prolong you'll prolong the duration of the disease within the country, but then you will be able to manage all along. Because if you've seen, we are at 179, yes, but we have been able to manage so far.
Right.
Yeah, because the system is not being overwhelmed.
But we can manage better, even with these basics, can't we?
Yes, we will, definitely.
And also, there's this talk about treatments and cures that are possible. This is good progress. We even have coalitions of research, of clinical researchers coming together to put their brains together and to pool their resources. But in reality, how far away are these possible treatments?
Wow. For the vaccine, for example, we are looking at 12 to 18 months or more. So I would assume that the treatment in itself, at the very least, would be like 6 months. Because the beauty is there are molecules that are already here. So it's just the clinical trial to see how people are responding. So in Africa, we have fewer numbers. The global north, they have more numbers. So the global north may come up with an answer faster than we here in Africa. And then now when we come to the African setup, then we will probably have different outlook because our disease profile, our epidemiological map is different from that in the north. So I would say at the very least, some 6 months for us to have an answer or a direction somewhere. Yeah.
Dr. let's take a short break. Go into a commercial break now. And then we come back and you'll answer more questions, more of them coming in on social media, Spice FM KE on Facebook and Spice FM KE on Twitter. And also the phone lines are open, 0719-012-600. If you've got any question that you'd like to ask Dr. Marcy Korir, ask Dr. Marcy, 0719-012-600. Good morning. It's 9:45.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every
Back
morning.
to us,
Spice
Dr.
up
Marcy,
yourself.
and callers are already calling in. This is John. John, good morning, calling in from Nairobi.
Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice
Good
FM,
morning. How is the weather
Nairobi.
today?
Hello.
Hi, John.
Hello. Yes, morning. Very fine. I wanted to ask that guy.
Yes.
She has just cannot be transmitted with they cannot be transmitted if you don't have a mask. But I remember reading an article last week from Washington that said that 60 people who are having a choir, who are in a choir, got the disease from air transmission, and 2 of them.
We lost him. You'll come to answer that, Dr. Marcy. I think you got the gist of the question.
No, he has to tell us what publication this was.
We'll get that.
Yes.
Charles in Homer Bay, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Say hi, doctor.
Good morning.
Yeah, I want to ask this. Right now, there have been a lot of things that are coming up on WhatsApp, especially in ways that can help us boost our immune system. For example, there was one I was so much interested in. The guy took lemon, raw lemon, and then with the ginger powder. Then he put them on a blender and poured hot water. Then he blended them. And he said this can boost your immune system and you cannot get coronavirus. I don't know, from your perspective as a doctor, how is this possible? How does it work to boost our immune system, really?
All right. Let's get this other one also from Otieno. Otieno, good morning.
Good morning. I have a question to the Daktari.
Yes.
Okay. Now, number one, there's an article which I read, and there's a nation newspaper, Daily Nation newspaper. It was talking about a cure had been gotten by Ethiopian doctors, something of the sort. It was written there, so she should comment about something on that, if that medicine can work. And number 2, why is it that doctors does not want the herbalists to do maybe research or come up with ideas? Because so long as you talk about herbalists, then a lot of these doctors are against it. Why is it that? That's my concern.
Thank you. Dr. Marcy.
Okay. Let me start with the lemon ginger mix with hot water blending. Personally, I'm not an advocate.
Okay.
Personally, I'm not an advocate of concoctions because when I was working in the hospitals, I had very bad experiences with concoctions, and almost everyone I had who had come after taking some of these concoctions complicated and eventually died. So I've never really advocated concoctions because when you mix them, you don't know what kind of chemical reactions will happen. You really don't know. And for me, what I advocate, the lemon, yes, is good for immunity. Ginger is good. Turmeric or any other fruit that is rich in vitamin C is good for your immunity. How you take them is now what matters. For example, you say garlic, incorporate garlic into your food preparation as part of your daily diet. Ginger, you can put it in your tea as part of your daily routine. So the single use of some of these components, yes, will be good because in the long run, they help in your immunity. So they help in the immunity. They do not prevent you from getting coronavirus. What it does is, if your immunity is good, then if you get the virus, then your body will have a chance to fight the virus off. That's why you see people with good immunity are not progressing to severe or critical illness. And even some who are severe, their bodies are able to fight. So yes, those individual components are good, but just incorporate them in your day-to-day meals, not a one-off. because you would not know what you're binge drinking in one of those then I've not seen this Ethiopian cure that is being talked about, because so far globally there is no cure that has been said to work for coronavirus. Everything is on trial. The favipiravir that we're talking about, the hydroxychloroquine, the antiretrovirals, everything is still on trial. There is nothing that has been said now, this is a drug. Because when now we say this is a cure, the other thing would be, okay, so what is the dosage? How often, when do you take it in the course of the disease, and all of those things. So it's not just that this component works. There's a lot of many other things that will come in place. So far, there is no cure. Let's work to prevent getting the disease. Here, I think the WHO, the Ministry of Health, and all ministries of health in the world are asking for as much help as possible. So if the government can do their own part and it's well regulated and they come up with something that works, I don't think there is any government that will not give them a chance to be heard. Because right now it's all hands on deck. Anyone that can come up with anything that can work, as long as it's proven and it's said to be safe for human consumption, that they'll be brought on board. And there are protocols, there are ethical guidelines to follow, and all of those things for one to be able to conduct research or any trial on human beings. So the thing is, if people fulfill those minimum requirements so that we make sure whatever you're doing is safe on people, then I don't think anyone has stopped herbalists from coming on board and trying to give us an answer for this thing.
Now, we don't know what exactly John was quoting from Nyandarua, but the story of the people who had gone on a quiet trip and they all contracted, what was the story?
I've not seen that story, but the that I've gotten from his answer is just basically, I think, if it's airborne, and there's been a lot of many things, researches, and on that the coronavirus is airborne. So as it is now, the virus is not airborne. It is not floating somewhere in the air. But I'm thinking now, in that particular scenario that he's talking about, if you go for a choir practice, it means that you are several of you, the physical distancing is not observed as much as if everyone was back in their homes. So that congregating in itself is a problem. And then now the other questions come in. What about maintaining hygiene? Washing your hands or using hand sanitizer? How close are you? Did you know the status of everyone else in that particular choir? So there are many things that come when there's a transmission of the coronavirus. It is not one thing only that you say now, because it is airborne, some of them got it, or because they were in a group, all of them at once, then all of them got it. There are very many compounding issues that come when it comes to a particular group of people getting the virus. So as it is not airborne. It is still transmitted by respiratory droplets from person to person, or if they fall onto a surface, and that surface is not cleaned or disinfected with bleach.
Basically, the story about that choir was that the choir practice turned deadly after dozens of members contracted the coronavirus, including 2 people who have died. Earlier in the month, about 6 people had attended a rehearsal in Mount Vernon, Washington. At the time, there were no bans on large gatherings, and they were given hand sanitizer and they refrained from close greetings. 3 weeks later, 45 members were diagnosed with COVID-19, including the 3 who were hospitalized and 2 who died. And now the stories are even appearing on the LA Times was, there was that whole issue of how did they get this COVID-19, the measures that were in place. They are saying that they had not come into, they tried to maintain distance with one another as much as possible. They were sanitizing, they were washing hands, but out of 60 members, 45 turned out positive.
But consider there's this story of the Shinjonji Church in Korea, right? The Diamond Princess, okay? Now, these stories of mass gatherings and how it is that the COVID-19 was transmitted are with us. But if you look at each and every of these cases and look at the details, you will find that there are differences. For instance, the Diamond Princess. What is a cruise ship? It's like a container or an experimental center where you've actually more or less isolated everybody. Over a period of time, they were going nowhere. So just by intermingling, the likelihood of that, a high rate of infection was already high. You had this church. The point at which this issue was, they went to do what? To visit the sick. Is that not so? Okay. Now, each of these cases had to do with mingling. Now, how many other groups of people do we have on this planet who at some point or the other, before or even after notices were issued, were meeting, gathering? Now, what seems to be a consensus that it's been understood that social distancing is important as is basic hygiene. Is that not so? But what isn't being asked is, prior to this case that is being referred to of the choir, what else was prevalent among them? Has that been discussed? How many of them had pre-existing conditions? There are many other things that relate to COVID-19. Has that also been brought into the discussion?
Two of them are the ones that passed away, but 54 contracted. So we're coming to the end of the show, Dr. Harry. Your final message going into the weekend in about 15 seconds.
Stay home. Do not move around. Do not go for parties. This is a temporary pandemic, so let's observe all the measures that have been put in place by the government. Wear a mask, wash your hands, sanitize where you don't have soap and water, and keep physical distance. Social distance means you still can video call people, you can Skype, you can Zoom, interact with everyone, because we need our mental health, we need our sanity at the end of the day. But it's physical distance.
Thank you very much, Dr. Harry.
Thanks,
C.T. Muga.
Let the discussions continue.
No, the proverb.
But the discussions must continue. Even if we have a proverb but there are no discussion, the proverbs make no sense.
Okay, what's today's proverb?
It takes a village to raise a child.
Takes a village to raise a child. This is doesn't need any much explanation, does it?
Nope. No.
So the president of Liberia, George Weah, has composed and sung a song. What's that all about?
He needed to use another way to talk to Liberians about this thing and decided to go through the arts.
Can you sing?
Well, that'll be for you.
So
as
they
say,
a song.
the test is in the taste.
So they recorded a song, and the song is now out and is being broadcast.
Yep.
And what is the song saying? It's basically telling people to stay at home.
He's
stay at home and wash their hands.
For the ABCs of safety.
Here is a song.
Spice up your life.
So there it is. He can sing. Right, Dr. Harry?
Not bad.
That's a very good tune. Very nice.
Very catchy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is.
Something
Mutai
Kagwe, or should we say President Uhuru Kenyatta can borrow a leaf.
Or in this case, a note.
Or borrow a note. That'd be nice. Guys, have a nice weekend. Happy, blessed Easter weekend to you, Dr. Harry.
You too.
And,
Mbarikiwe tena sana.
Mpaka ushangae. Ndu.
Yes. Have a happy Easter. Have a wonderful weekend. Isolate, sanitize, maintain.
Let the conversation continue.
Thank you, Eric. May it continue.
Have a blessed weekend, people. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock.